So there's the body right there. This is outside Palm Mortuary in downtown Las Vegas. And the procession for Sergeant Abbate will follow a similar path as the one for Trooper Alberto Felix from Friday. It will start here in the downtown area, and then it will head south on Interstate 15 till they hit Sahara, and then they'll go to the east where they'll eventually hook up with the Las Vegas Strip, going from Sahara all the way down Las Vegas Boulevard until it links up with the 215, east on the 215, north on 95 until they arrive at Central Church in the southeastern portion of our valley.
Yeah, and of course we'll be there every step of the way here live on the CW as we are right now to the very end of this service that will probably be no doubt a touching one. And you can see Sky 3 is above right now to help us follow that procession route. Always interesting to see the deference that's paid, the honor, the dedication for the service, and it's exactly what they deserve. But it's more interesting here, I think, than other places because we know that once they hit the Strip, at least, there are going to be a lot of tourists there who may not realize what's going on, but they always stop, they always gather and pay their respects, even though they're visitors to this community, likely on vacation.
Yeah, and you've seen that before too, where even tourists here are standing at attention, some of them saluting, especially the veterans out there.
Yeah, absolutely. When they see this procession, they know that this is something that has struck the heart of Las Vegas, and they step in line and pay their respects for sure.
So our Kelly Curran is up in Sky 3. Just give us an idea from your vantage point of what you're observing in downtown Las Vegas.
All right, so it looks like everybody's getting ready to get on their motorcycles. The motorcycles are the lead for the procession, so they're getting ready to get on there. We see the Clark County Fire trucks, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue's trucks there as well. Looks like Henderson's trucks, those are the white ones. And we'll see police cars and emergency vehicles from not just all over the valley, but from all over the region. California, Utah, northern Nevada will be here as well. Very similar to what we saw up there yesterday. You can see a lot of the NHP cars here in the parking lot. They're getting ready to go. A lot of Metro vehicles here as well. And this, you can see that they've already lined up on Main Street here, getting ready to go onto the funeral procession. You can see just how many cars are going to be in this one. We expect this one to be just as long as the one we saw on Friday, which was probably about 2.5, 3 miles long. It takes quite some time for them to get from here down to the church as well. It's usually about 2 hours and when it finishes up.
All right, our Kelly Curran will be there in Sky 3 for us for the duration. Let's go ahead now and check in with Evan Schreiber. He's at the funeral home there in downtown Las Vegas, and another song we're seeing playing out before our eyes, Evan.
Yeah, and Latoya, I'm standing just in this vantage point that you're seeing from our photographer, Marco Tavares, who has zoomed in on the truck right now as it is set to pull out and head south on Main Street. Quite a scene it was, similar to what we saw on Friday. For Trooper Alberto Felix, as Sergeant Michael Abbate's casket is about to head out now. And this is the vehicle pulling up behind them, this van that is now blocking our view ever so slightly, full of the sergeant's family, full of the sergeant's friends as they were lined up. One thing you'll see during the memorial service, something that you'll notice on there, those who were wearing jackets, those who were wearing dresses, blue ribbons. You'll see those blue ribbons in tribute to the sergeant with his name and his badge number after he was killed in the line of duty in that hit-and-run crash while responding to that stopped car. So right now we are at the mortuary, the downtown mortuary here. And you know what, if we can, Marco, can you pan over to the right and just show all the troopers who have their vehicle lights on right now as they're getting set to leave as well. This is the vantage point you're seeing from the mortuary looking out into the parking lot right now. This main parking lot full of just Nevada State Police. They're the ones who are going to lead this procession, and then behind them and what Kelly is showing overhead in Sky 3, just the number of officers and squad cars from all over, not only just our region here in Las Vegas, here in Clark County, but beyond. I talked to some troopers from Utah, talked to some troopers from Indiana who came all this way, who said they had no hesitation about coming out and joining this procession and being a part of it here. As we're keeping you updated to the live look here, when I asked them, does it get any easier, the answer, an emphatic no. for all the processions they've been to, all the services they've been to for their fellow officers killed in the line of duty. They said it never gets easier, and we'll be hearing some of those somber comments today for Sergeant Michael Abbate, the 37-year-old who was killed in the line of duty in that hit-and-run crash while responding in his Nevada State Police vehicle. Let's send it back to you guys in studio.
And he was struck and killed not far from where the procession is beginning this morning. It was on the D Street exit, northbound 15, and that's probably just a couple of miles from what you're seeing on your screen right now, that close.
And it really was a horrific scene that day when everything happened, just unbelievable. And of course, so many people have been touched by this tragedy. Let's go ahead and check in with Andrew Nomura. He actually talked to a man this morning at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign who's doing what he can to pay tribute. Andrew?
Yeah, we got a chance to talk to John Wadby. He's the one who's responsible of putting up all of these thin blue line flags, 14 of them in total. The significance, well, it's the total number of service that Michael Abbate, along with Alberto Felix, served in the Nevada State Police Department. You'll also notice that there's 3 UNLV flags resembling or signifying those 3 victims that were killed in that mass shooting at UNLV last week. But that's John right there in the distance over there by his vehicle. We were able to talk to him on the reason why he was just so compelled to put these flags up. Take a listen.
And it's a small gesture, but hopefully everyone that drives by this during that procession knows that the community loves them.
Yeah, the community loves them. And as you can see out here in the distance further down here on the Las Vegas Boulevard side, you can see those tow trucks back out here like they were on Friday morning for Trooper Felix. But an American flag is now hanging from one of these tow trucks. So definitely a sight to see. We also have a couple people out here already trying to get a glimpse of this procession that is either has already started or is going to get ready to start. But a lot of things happening out here on the Las Vegas sign, and we are expected to have that procession roll through any minute now. Dana, Latoya.
All right, thank you so much, Andrew, for that touching tribute to Sergeant Abbate.
And I like that they also had the UNLV flags out there. Mm-hmm. You saw that. You saw the American flag out there. And we know what happened last Wednesday at UNLV. You're a UNLV graduated from there in 1983. And so this community's been through a lot. And I know that for longtime residents like you, it takes on added significance what our community is going through.
Sure, my heart just broke for the families of these fallen officers and the families of the professors and all the students. I mean, these folks will be scarred for a long time, but we're a strong community and we'll work through it.
Vegas strong.
Yeah, we are Vegas strong, and we'll hear from people as more people come out who will be saying some of those same things about how they just feel compelled to show their solidarity, show their support right now. I mean, Vegas strong is one mantra that we always say in these things, but you see it on display every time we have a tragedy. And as you can see, the procession well on its way right now. And Kelly, just kind of walk us through what we're going to be seeing and what we've seen so far.
All right, so right now they've got I-15 southbound here closed at Washington, and that is where everybody is going to be getting onto the freeway here. Sad because, well, again, this was this opposite ramp here where Sergeant Abbate lost his life. This I-15 northbound ramp here right onto D Street in Washington, and now they're getting onto the northbound side, getting ready to get onto 15 itself, where they're going to head down 15 and then move down to Sahara, and that's where they'll get onto Las Vegas Boulevard. They're kind of out, oh, here we go, is the front. You can see the motorcycles here now starting to get onto I-15 southbound. They'll travel along I-15 southbound down to Sahara and then down to Las Vegas Boulevard. Now there's going to be rolling closures as they go by. You see that the officers here who have closed the freeway are standing at the side of the freeway saluting as they go by. So there will be rolling closures for those of you who are watching at home. Just be prepared for that, and of course have some patience, because this is a beautiful tribute to one of our own here in the city. So there is the casket itself for Sergeant Abbate now getting on to I-15 southbound. The family in that gray bus right behind it.
So Kelly, let me ask you a question. When we did this on Friday for Alberto Felix, the trooper that died alongside Trooper Abbate, it was about a 3-mile long, I think you were estimating that it was about a 3-mile long procession. Are you getting the sense that this procession, and I don't know if you could tell where it even ends at this point, how long this procession is today? It must be similar to what we saw on Friday.
It's going to be very similar to what we saw on Friday. In fact, there's cars that haven't even left the parking lot yet. So this is going to be another very long one, very touching, moving thing, especially to see so many vehicles here from, again, all around the region. And as they're originating, there's even people here from Indiana coming to pay their respects. So people from all over this region and apparently all over the country as well that are here for this. Yeah, it's going to be another long one, guys.
Yeah, it's so touching to see. Very heartbreaking, as we can't stress that enough, but then it's so touching to see just how these brothers and sisters stand up for their own and show up and come from all over. And I know you've probably seen this time and time again.
Yes, you know, the brotherhood and sisterhood of law enforcement expands throughout the United States and across the world. I mean, we've had police officers from London and you know, all the different countries, and of course throughout the United States that they come to support their brother and sister officers.
And our law enforcement officers here do the same in return. When we have an officer who is lost on the job, oftentimes we'll send officers from our jurisdiction to Southern California, even into Arizona, maybe even to Utah as well.
What do you think, David, drives them? Because they know that this is a dangerous job. When they don this uniform, when they take charge and say, okay, this is the job that I want to do to protect and serve, they do so sometimes, you know, obviously at their own risk, and likely, you know, they don't know if that day if they're going to go home until they in fact make it home. As someone who's worked really closely with them, can you just kind of tell us about their psyche and how they're able to do something that is just so brave and that so many of us probably can't even comprehend?
Sure. You know, they have families here. They're part of this community, and, you know, they feel the call to action when things happen. You know, after the Mumbai shooting, we had to train our officers to stand down and not immediately respond to the scene. And so, for example, the UNLV incident, we had numerous officers responding. And what we learned from Mumbai is that there could be multiple attacks, and so you have to stand down. But October 1, we had officers leaving their homes in the middle of the night to go to Mandalay Bay. And so it is just inherent in them to want to help and to protect people.
So on the left side of your screen there, you see downtown Las Vegas, and as we're hearing from Kelly Curran, that we still have cars that haven't left the parking lot of the mortuary in downtown Las Vegas. That's how long this procession will be. And it was on Friday when we said goodbye to Alberto Felix, the trooper. It was about 3 miles long, we think, and this will be a very similar situation as well. And it all ends at Christian Church in the southeastern portion of our Las Vegas Valley.
Right, and one of the reasons they have it at Christian Church is because it's so large, because so many people, family, friends, people who have served with these officers, as well as perfect strangers, all want to come and pay their respects, and so that offers the space for them to do so. Let's go ahead and check in now with our Kristen Drummond. She is near Central Church in Henderson, getting reaction from people in the community. Kristen?
Well, Dana and LaToya, the community is starting to come in. As we know, the service is not expected to start until 10:30, but like we saw on Friday with Trooper Felix's funeral, it did start a little bit later, but that's not stopping people from wanting to come here, grab a spot in the parking lot, and make their way to make sure they are here right on time. And one person I was able to speak with just moments ago happens to be a friend of Sergeant Michael Abbate. He actually drove in from California this morning. He tells me he woke up at 5 in the morning, came here from Dana Point, making sure he was not going to miss this. He tells me they actually went to UNLV together. They were part of a fraternity, and he says they have so many fun memories. Some of those memories he couldn't share with me due to, well, they were part of a fraternity, but he says that he will always remember Sergeant Abbate as being funny, cracking jokes, and always smiling, and that's something he's really just going to miss about him. I also had a chance to speak with another man who came here because his son actually is a Nevada State Trooper, and so he was here on Friday to pay his respects to Trooper Felix, and he's here today to also pay his respects to Sergeant Abbate. And his son actually, Sergeant Abbate was actually the person who made sure his son was okay on their graveyard shift. So this is really impacting the community, and so many want to come out here, not only in Las Vegas, but obviously from across the country. As we were mentioning, there are troopers from all around the U.S. flying out here, driving out here. Friday, we saw a car that said State Trooper Texas, or came from Texas. On Saturday, I was able to speak with Dan Gordon. He is the president of the Nevada Police Union, which represents troopers here in our state. He tells me that troopers are flying out as far as New Jersey to come here and pay their respects to both Trooper Felix as well as Sergeant Abbate today. And of course, we will be out here. And as you can see behind me, the flag has already been raised, held by Las Vegas Fire and Rescue as well as the Clark County Fire Department, as we wait for the procession to enter the church parking lot later this morning. Dana and LaToya.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much. And it's always so nice to be able to hear about how they were, even before they put on the uniform.
Oh,
I love the
yes.
little story about, he couldn't tell us everything because, they're in a fraternity and some of that stuff you just got to keep secret. But it just shows you more of their humanity and how, we're all more than one thing, and we all have
Yes.
layers, and we all have lives that we lead and things that we love to do. And it's just unfortunate that at 37, he lost his life. I mean, his birthday supposed to be December 22nd, so just so close to making it to 38, and it's just, it's really heartbreaking.
Tragic for sure. You're looking at the head of the procession here, and in the upper portion of the screen, that's the casket on the back of that truck, and immediately behind that, in that vehicle, the trooper's family is on board. As they approach Sahara now, they'll be getting off the freeway here at Sahara, heading east toward the Las Vegas Strip. So this is the beginning of the procession, heading south on Interstate 15. But Evan Schreiber now joins us from downtown Las Vegas at the mortuary where all of this began. And I was just wondering, Evan, if the end of the procession has finally left the mortuary in downtown.
Yeah, Dana, it was 9:25 when they first loaded up Sergeant Abbate's casket onto that truck. Now about 15 minutes later, and you can see Main Street here is back open as traffic is passing by past me, headed in the same direction that the procession was going there, headed toward Main Street Station, headed toward downtown. You see Circa there in the background. So not much to see here as far as any of that procession. It has now passed us here as we're keeping you updated from the downtown Palm Mortuary for the sergeant who was killed in the line of duty, as we're keeping you updated to what was here, and that was a gathering of officers and troopers from around the country, even in our area, but as far away as Indiana, as far away as Utah. Troopers making their way from Texas to see this procession, to be a part of the procession, to stand with their brother who was lost, is what they told me, with no hesitation about coming out for this procession, you guys. As we're going to keep you posted here. To some of their comments they had to say, we're working to get that for you here, not only at the mortuary, but we'll have that for you here coming up as our coverage continues. I'm going to send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Evan Schreiber there for us at the funeral home. And it's really impressive to hear that they left at 9:25, started to load up at 9:25. It took 15 minutes for that last car in that procession to make its way out of the funeral home area, which is what we heard on Friday as well, that procession was about 15 minutes long. And if you think the procession is impressive, which it is, I mean, so are the amount of people who show up at the church. So many people show up at the church as well. So let's go ahead and check in with our Denise Ross. She is there at Central Church in Henderson. And Denise, like we saw Friday, I'm sure a lot of people already standing by so that they can pay their respects.
Yeah, and I was just told there are actually troopers here from 37 other states to pay their respects. Many of them you can see behind me lined up, members of various honor guards waiting for the procession to come here. Now, services at Central Church, well, we know they're supposed to start at 10:30, but after Friday, that probably won't happen. Every car in the procession must be parked before anyone goes inside. So it was about noon before services started for Trooper Felix last week. We're expecting about the same today. Now, driving in this morning, coming to the church, the overhead reader boards on 215, They read respect and honor for Sergeant Abbate, and we know both troopers awarded the Medal of Valor after their deaths November 30th. Again, people already assembling here, and I know we'll have at least an hour before the procession makes it here, but everyone already in place, and guys will be here bringing you the latest.
Denise, let me ask you a question. Unfortunately, we had to do this on Friday for Trooper Alberto Felix. So for people that didn't see it on Friday morning, we're expecting a very similar scene to play out there at your location at the actual church, at the sanctuary. Give us an idea of what is going to happen once they get everybody parked, and it'll be hundreds upon hundreds of people. Some are already in place, as you can see. Give us an idea of what we're expecting to see once the casket and everybody has arrived at your location.
Sure, once everyone gets out of their cars, the casket, it starts at the end of this line of folks right here and winds its way up to the south entrance of Central Church. We will see his family most likely walking behind the casket, and then there's the riderless horse with the boots backwards in the stirrup representing a fallen officer. We will see that. We will see the bagpipes and the drums, and it is all very beautiful, moving ceremony that we see each time that there is a service for a fallen officer, and all of that will end right here at the south entrance to Central Church.
All right, and it really is touching to see, and like we said on Friday, I mean, you literally can hear a pin drop. It's so quiet, the deference that everyone there is paying when that all starts to take place. Thank you so much, Denise. We'll check in with you a little bit later. Let's now turn to Kelly Kern. She is above in Sky 3. It looks like they've made it to Las Vegas Boulevard on the Strip.
Yes, they just turned onto Las Vegas Boulevard here. They're passing by the Fontainebleau building now as they make their way southward along Las Vegas Boulevard. Now, as they make their way southward on Las Vegas Boulevard, you'll notice that a lot of the marquees are going to be lit up with Sergeant Abbate's picture, honoring him all the way down the Strip. Sometimes they even shoot the fountains off there as well as they go by. And yeah, a very moving scene. And then as they get towards some of those pedestrian bridges, that's where we see not just tourists, but maybe even some locals that have found a spot to stand and pay their respects. And usually everybody stops on those pedestrian bridges to just in a moment of silence as they watch this go by. And again, it takes about 15 minutes for the entire thing to pass underneath one of those bridges. So beautiful moving moment. And then they head down Las Vegas Boulevard where they go by the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. And as Andrew said, they have tow trucks lined up there already. We've also seen tow trucks lined up along the freeway as well, and the tow truck drivers out of their cars and standing and saluting as they go by here.
Yeah, and that's significant too, because we know that tow truck drivers face the same dangers as our troopers on the side of the road when they go to assist motorists. A lot of times they're in the same danger that someone could hit them, which is exactly what happened here on November 30th and took the lives of not only Trooper Felix but also Sergeant Abbate.
You know, it's interesting too on social media, as we still have your shot up there, Kelly. I saw this on Friday. People were wondering why the Las Vegas Strip was shut down, which does not happen very often here in our Las Vegas community. And people were speculating on social media that it was because the President of the United States was in town.
Right.
Joe Biden was here on Friday, but it was because of this funeral procession. But Kelly, you did such a great job on Friday of showing those people on the overpasses. I know you're going to show us again because it's a very touching tribute to this fallen officer when you see people on those pedestrian overpasses, many standing at attention, many saluting the casket as it goes by. So if you see any scenes like that, I know that you'll bring them to us from Sky 3.
I think it's always just touching too to see so many people that do come out and pay tribute, and then to know that this community right now is in the throes of grief. I mean, there's so many things happening. Everywhere you go, you hear people talking about it. I was at the grocery store. I could hear people around me talking about what was happening at UNLV, and then to see sites like this happening. And we were already feeling the pain and wondering why when this happened just days before, less than a week before, the UNLV shooting. And so I think one of the things that we have to constantly remind people especially when they come and visit, is that, this really is a real community. A lot of people get stuck on the Strip and they think that's just, we all live in casinos, we all live in hotels, and it's like, no, the real people live here, real people love here, And unfortunately, real people suffer loss here. And so this is just one of those things that I think makes our community more whole to people when they come and visit, that it's not just, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but real things happen here all the time. And unfortunately, we have to deal with things like this all too often, especially the last week or so. And so this is just another thing to show people that it's more than just the glitz and the glamour, that real life happens here, and that people do everything that they do when they go back home, and they can see that this is really more than just a place to play, but it's also a place that is full of love and full of community.
Yeah, I agree. These tragedies like this bring a community together. It certainly brings law enforcement and community together, and public safety. You see that the tow truck drivers were out there showing their respect. Firefighters, you'll see them at the church as well.
So David Roger, elected 3 times as Clark County District Attorney, now working as General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association, the union that represents our police officers here in Southern Nevada. And you have been to too many of these funerals in the past. And it's a solemn occasion, impressive in many ways as well, but an important one too, not only for the family of the fallen officer, but for our community too, to recognize these people.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly the officers. When they are in the academy, they develop this bond as a family, and that continues on even after the tragic passing of an officer. And
it helps, because a lot of times, obviously, they're losing a major part of their family, and so they stay with them for the duration. This isn't, oh, we'll offer our condolences today and perhaps maybe even a year from now, but a lot of times they're in the lives of their children forever.
Yes, for example, with the Metro, and I'm sure that NHP has the same process, but as soon as an officer is deceased, there is someone who is attached to the family throughout. With respect to Metro, we're there for birthdays. We provide birthday gifts, holiday gifts. We pay for education for the surviving spouse as well as the children. We go to graduations, weddings, and so when they say that law enforcement is a family, it truly is a family.
You can see they're heading south right now on Las Vegas Boulevard, the street that we call the Strip, and you saw some of the people there in the overpass.
Yeah, you can see them now standing there. Many of them probably, wow, what's going on? And then I'm sure it hits them when they see that flag-draped coffin there. They know that this is a really important person who is now being memorialized here pretty soon here in Las Vegas. And then, of course, when you see the show of force there from police officers, hundreds, by the hundreds, from all over the country following behind them, they know that, oh, wow, this is something important. This is something for me to stop what I'm doing. This is a moment that I need to take in.
Are the fountains, Kelly, are the fountains active right now there in front of the Bellagio?
Yeah, the fountains are going off here in the Bellagio. Just a steady stream, not a big show, but as they're going by the Bellagio. And then, of course, here too, especially we're at the Aria and Cosmo, we have the marquees that are lit up as well. We've seen quite a few people lining the street, also on those pedestrian bridges that are watching as this goes by here as well. So yeah, they did shoot the fountains off. So that's always a moving tribute, and I see that going off. That always kind of chokes me up a little bit too.
So heading south right now on the Las Vegas Boulevard on the Las Vegas Strip. They'll get all the way down to the 215 where they'll head east on 215. They will be shutting down the freeway, and then north on 95 for just a short time until they exit at Russell, and they'll end at Central Church in the southeastern portion of our Las Vegas Valley. But we know our Andrew Demuro is out there too, and the procession is approaching him as we speak too.
Yeah, just minutes away from Andrew, and it really is touching to see that marquee there that has Sergeant Abbate's picture and his name there. That is his last ride through the iconic Las Vegas Strip. And, I just, every time we do these, I always think about that family that's in that van and what could be going through their minds right now. Obviously, immense sorrow, but I'm sure at some point it's touching to see that so many people care and that they're not alone.
Sure, it is a sense of pride for family. I mean, they're going through a wide range of emotions, but when they see that they're not alone, that people are with them and showing support means a lot to them, I'm sure.
So they're headed toward the south end of the strip. Our Andrew Demura is standing by. And Andrew, I see the beginning of the procession arriving there at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, your location.
Yeah, you just saw those motorcycles just go past us as we're getting to see a clearer view of this procession from our vantage point. As you can see, people are starting to actually stand up and look and take a peek here at the Las Vegas sign, waiting for this procession to roll through as they look to pay their respects to fallen Officer Sergeant Michael Abbate. I tell you what, about 10 minutes ago, we had a police officer come down here, clear everything out, stop traffic, and now you're just waiting to see this procession, which is right now coming in. If Brad can turn to the north side of this Las Vegas Boulevard, we'll let you all have it back in the studio.
All right, such a sight to behold. Let's go ahead and just take it in. So again, if you're just joining us, we are watching the procession for Sergeant Michael Abbate, who was killed in the line of duty, a trooper in our area, just promoted to sergeant not too long ago, weeks before he lost his life, an untimely death at just 37 years old. In fact, he was just less than a month away from his 38th birthday, killed in the line of duty, a husband, a father, a beloved community member who had so many facets to him. As we've been learning, he was a former race car driver. He was also one who trained cadets in emergency vehicle operations course and loved what he did. In fact, our Denise Roche was able to do a story with him when he was training other cadets. And Dana, if you remember that story, it was so fun to see because we got to see a bit of his personality. He was a jokester and he liked to kid around, and he kind of made fun of Denise because she wasn't the best student. But it was one of those ways where we got to see him more than just the headline that he lost his life.
Well, he was talking in that story that he did with Denise, and it's amazing that we have him on camera talking about his job from not long ago. As you see the procession arriving there shortly to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, but he was talking about we get cadets that come to the academy, 21-year-olds that have never been more than 100 miles an hour. So he was training those cadets on high-speed situations, and he enjoyed his job very much. As a former race car driver, he enjoyed teaching driving to others.
That's right, and sadly, it was a driver who took his life, a suspected drunk driver, on Thursday, November 30th, as he was simply just trying to do his job. He actually stopped him and Trooper Alberto Felix to check on another driver who was asleep on the side of the road when another driver came, suspected of drinking and driving, hit them and took them from this world.
So let's just, we'll be silent here for a moment as we watch the procession pass by the southern end of the strip.
From here, they will make their way to the 215 and then on to Central Church. As we're watching this powerful scene play out, just want to, speak to some of the people who have offered their condolences online. One of them is Michelle Martinez. She says, "The world has lost a beautiful human being. Michael was a great husband and father, and as it has always shown in the loving smiles on the faces of his wife and son, his service and dedication to his job and community made him a hero. He was certainly taken too soon, and he will be greatly missed by so many. Rest in peace, Michael." And we heard that from many people, just talking about what a wonderful person he was online. In fact, one of his friends from the racing community says, "Michael was an amazing racer. Everyone in the World Karting Association extends our deepest condolences on his untimely passing. His kart racing days will always be remembered, and our thoughts are with his family during this very difficult time."
David Roger joins us here on the news set talking about the impressive show of force from law enforcement here in Southern Nevada, and we understand that there are troopers from 37 states in our country here to pay their final respects for Sergeant Abbate. And I think it's important not only for the family of Sergeant Abbate, for the troopers that live here as well, but all law enforcement to see the respect that they're getting from our community today. There's been a lot of vitriol directed at law enforcement, I think, in the last several years in this country. So I think this means a lot for the law enforcement officers that are part of this today, for sure.
It certainly is. Quite often law enforcement feels like they're not appreciated, that it's a thankless job, they're constantly criticized, but I tell officers that the public supports them, and this is certainly an example.
Yeah, if they ever doubted it, they know now that certainly there are a lot of people who are supporting them. And we're seeing that the Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign there, and you can see those flags that are set there, 14 flags in fact, to talk about the amount of time that both Trooper Felix and Sergeant Abbate spent with the Nevada Police there. And you can see 14 of them, because one of them was there for 4 years. That was Trooper Felix. He was with them after retiring from the Air Force. And then Sergeant Abbate, he spent 11 years with Nevada HP. And he was just celebrating a promotion not too long ago, a promotion to sergeant.
Last month.
And when you think about that, and then now we're here. I mean, we know that life is fleeting, but it's just really sad, especially when you see someone so young who their career was just taking off, and then they were taken from this world in a matter of an instant.
Yes, he spent so much time preparing to take the sergeant's exam, and he had such a distinguished career in order to qualify to be a sergeant, and I'm sure that it was a great honor for his family, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone in a blink of an eye, and unfortunately, David, we've seen this, and you were a DA here, elected 3 terms back in the early 2000s, but we see this all too often in our community, where we have these troopers by the side of the road just doing their jobs, and you'll have a motorist that is either impaired or not that ends up hitting these troopers, also tow truck drivers in our community as well, and as a result, the Nevada legislature just passed a law. It's called the Move Over Law. You're actually required by law to move over a lane to give these guys a wide berth, but all too often we don't see it in our community.
Yes, police officers are trained to approach a vehicle from the passenger's side when they're along the road, simply because approaching on the driver's side is so dangerous and being hit. But apparently they suspected that this individual was drunk in his vehicle, and so they approached from the driver's side. We also have had studies where people who are intoxicated are attracted to the light, and I'm sure that there were a lot of lights on the vehicle, and it was just a tragic, I don't want to say coincidence, but convergence of dangers.
Yeah, and a reminder to all of us to just be mindful that people are, doing their jobs, like troopers, like tow truck drivers, and to always be mindful on the road. I mean, we're supposed to move over. Obviously, this person was impaired, but it's just a reminder for all of us to be careful and to mind ourselves on the road.
So we have our Kelly Curran up in Sky 3. You've been doing a great job following the procession for us this morning. And I think they're starting to approach, at least, getting closer to the 215. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. They're actually on 215 eastbound now, approaching the airport connector is where the lead of the procession is. Now, the back of the procession, I haven't been able to see it yet. There's still cars going by the the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. There's still cars going by the Luxor. So we do think this one is several miles long, just like the last one. It does seem to be moving a little bit faster, a little more condensed than it was on Friday. So the funeral itself may start a little bit earlier. But yes, they are on the 215. Now, as they go along the 215 eastbound, this is always a really touching spot too, because on the overpasses here, you're going to see Henderson's fire department parked on the overpasses and standing on the roof of their fire trucks and saluting as Sergeant Abbate's coffin goes underneath those overpasses. That's always a really touching moment to see too.
Yeah, you do a great job of documenting that for us. I remember this, from Friday when we had to go through this with Trooper Alberto Felix, that we saw that similar scene play out, but we see it every time it plays out in our community with those firefighters standing on top of their emergency vehicles at attention, saluting, paying their final respects to Sergeant Abbate as his casket goes underneath those overpasses on the 215.
I'm also touched by the people who are going west on the 215, how you can start to see some of them once they start to realize what's happening on the other side of the freeway, they start to slow down and stop as well to pay their respects and their tribute. Of course, some of them, it may take them a while to realize what's going on, but when you see something like this, unfortunately, play out here in our community, it's just a reminder of the danger, the sacrifice, the dedication that our law enforcement community has to all of us, to protecting us, and we need to do our part to try to protect them as well, because after all, they're doing what they can to try to make our community safer, and that's what they were trying to do on November 30th when they noticed that driver asleep at the wheel on the side of the road. They wanted to check it out and try to make sure that that person was okay and that that wouldn't provided another dangerous situation. And unfortunately, that's when a suspected drunk driver came through and hit both of them, killing them.
Yeah, just a week ago Thursday. So we know we have a couple of reporters in place as well at where this procession will end. That's Central Christian Church down in the southeastern portion of our Las Vegas Valley. They're now probably maybe 10 minutes away from arriving at that church, and I was hoping that we might be able to check in live with one of our reporters that are standing by at Central Christian Church for us right now. I don't know, is Denise Rosh available for us? Of course. Denise, I was hoping that maybe you could set the scene for us there at the church, and I was hoping that you could also talk about Sergeant Abbate. You had a chance to meet him, I think it was in February of this year, and you did a story about him. So set the scene and then give us a remembrance about Sergeant Abbate.
Well, I can tell you, Dana, right now, along with fellow troopers and officers, we've seen a number of dignitaries walking into Central Church. Just a few moments ago, Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman walked in. On Friday, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Congressman Stephen Horsford were in attendance. And we're just expecting much more of the same today. You can see this group of people in front is just growing and growing. I've also been told that many of the officers, even from other departments, who went through the academy with Sergeant Abbate will be in this line with the honor guard. Many of them just wanted to be here. And yes, you're right. In February, we got to ride with Sergeant Abbate out at a race course in Pahrump, where he was training some cadets on how to drive fast. He said that they really have to have the best of the best drivers on the department, and he was so kind and so patient. Let us ride with him for a little while. Was trying to make a professional driver out of me. It really didn't go that well, but he was so patient and so sweet, and it's just something that I'm so glad now that we did have the opportunity to meet with him and just learn a little bit about him. And today you can just see the outpouring, all these folks here that knew and loved him that are arriving. I'm also seeing, besides from other states, just about every county in Nevada I've seen represented here: Lyon County, Nye County, troopers coming in from all over the country and certainly all over the state.
All right, thanks so much, Denise. And we saw he had a great sense of humor when he was working with you, and I'm just so grateful that you were able to capture that moment for us. Let's go head back and check in with our Kelly Kern, who is above in Sky 3. And Kelly, we're seeing those overhead tributes there on the freeway that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we've got a couple of Clark County fire trucks here, and the firefighters there are saluting, but we also have some civilians here with, somebody has an American flag. You see just civilian cars pulled over, and everybody's watching as they go underneath this overpass. Now, the casket has already gone through, but we're still seeing, of course, these are all the NHP vehicles that are going through, and then we'll have Metro and everyone else from around the community. And as you guys were saying, 37 states. That's just incredible. But yeah, about 3 miles long. You can see all the flashing lights there as they continue to work their way eastbound along the 215. There's a few more overpasses where we usually see people. Green Valley Parkway, Pecos, also down by Stephanie and Gibson. We tend to see quite a crowd gathering on those overpasses as they go by.
So David Roger joins us here on the news set. Elected 3 times as Clark County District Attorney. You work for the Police Protective Association these days here in Las Vegas. Do these officers, do they ever talk about the dangers of the job, or is that something that they don't want to think about? Is that something that they want to put out of their minds, the dangerous jobs that they have?
You know, they are constantly training for these types of dangerous situations, and you know, whenever there's a critical incident, whether it is a shooting or otherwise, they go back and they train more. So they're constantly thinking about these dangers because they want to be able to perform based upon muscle memory.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, thankfully, this doesn't happen all too often. According to the CDC, it says that they have 50 deaths per year across the country when it comes to an officer that's on the road trying to help with motor vehicle related accidents. And so thankfully, we don't see this all too often, but one is too many, especially when you think about the fact that this is completely preventable, that we have laws in place where you're not supposed to be drinking and driving, you're not supposed to be distracted, and that you're supposed to move over anytime you see someone like a Trooper Abbate or Trooper Felix doing their job. But sadly, we're seeing this in our community 2 at a time. And in fact, the last time we saw 2 officers is with Metro was when we had Igor Soldo and Alvin Beck. They were the last ones who were killed together in 2014. They were ambushed. And so that also just shows you just how rare this is. And so that's why I think we see the outpouring of support, and we see the heartbreak from people who are just perfect strangers who are showing up to Christian Church right now, to Central Church, to pay their respects, because it's something that you don't see very often, and it's something that you hope you never see again. But sadly, we probably will.
Sure. Since 1945, NHP has lost 9 troopers, most of them in automobile wrecks. Of course, in 2021, it was Trooper Micah Roberts who was laying down. Micah May, rather, yes. Strips on I-15 to stop a person trying to elude the police officers. But yes, it does happen all too often, but under these circumstances with NHP, it is rare.
So this is the head of the procession here. You can see Sky 3 is above it. So that is the casket draped with the American flag, carrying the body of Sergeant Abbate, heading east on the 215 as we speak. The family is not far behind in the van that's directly behind this open truck. And they will end up, and they're now probably just minutes away, maybe 5 to 10, from Central Christian Church in the southeastern portion of our valley, very close to US 95 and Russell. And that's where we find our Kristen Drummond, who joins us live outside of the church this morning. Hey, Kristen.
Dana, well, the community is still continuing to gather here. We are on New Beginnings Drive, and the procession will come down New Beginnings Drive after getting off of Russell Boulevard, or Russell, turning and then coming down New Beginnings and then going underneath the large American flag held up by the apparatus of 2 fire engines. Now, I also wanted to show you that we are not only getting people going towards the church right now, but also people who are standing by waiting for that procession to come here. There are 2 cars just right next to us. I went up to the drivers, asked them why they are here. They said they wanted to see the procession come down New Beginnings Drive as it turns into Central Church. One man tells me he did not know Sergeant Abbate, but he has some friends who knew him and felt it was very important for him to just be a part of this day and pay his respects to Sergeant Abbate, who has been a part of this community. I was able to speak with one of Sergeant Abbate's friends who drove in from California this morning. They went to UNLV. They were part of a fraternity together. And so we're getting a little bit more insight into this man who so many, I've been told, respected, because yes, he was serious protecting our valley and the roads, but he also, I'm being told, had a great sense of humor. He was funny, always cracking jokes. One story I was told, they were at a bonfire and he was always the one making people laugh. So we're learning just even more about him, and I'm sure we will hear some more stories once the service begins inside Central Church at 10:30. Now, as we recall, on Friday, the service started a little bit later, and that is likely due to the number of cars that are part of that procession. And as you mentioned, it was about 15 minutes long on Friday, and it appears it will be about that long again. So it does take some time to come down New Beginnings Drive and park inside the church parking lot here before that procession can move forward. Dana and LaToya?
Yeah, and they can't do anything until that very last car makes its way into the parking lot there. Thank you so much, Kristen. And as we continue to see the overpasses there, the tributes from fire departments standing on top of their engines there to pay tribute and show their respect to this fallen officer, I think it's also very poignant when you start to see what happens once they make their way to the church in that procession. I mean, we're going to see a lot of things that show a lot of respect, a lot of deference for the life well lived and the service that was given to this community. We're seeing a number of plainclothes people. I think those are probably civilians there standing on the overpass, and a bunch of flags. So maybe some law enforcement there as well. We see some motorcycles. There's people wanting to show their respect. But some of the things that we saw on Friday and we'll likely see again, of course, we've already seen the hundreds of cars. There, the flag flyover on the trucks that we've already seen there behind Kristen. But then one thing that I think always brings people to attention is those bagpipes. Those bagpipes just do something to you. And that's one of the reasons when we see them at the church that everyone is completely silent.
Yeah, bagpipes have been a tradition with law enforcement for a long, long time. It originated in 1845 in Ireland, where the potato workers had to work as law enforcement officers because of the famine and the disease. And when their officers were killed in line of duty, they played bagpipes.
So long-standing tradition here. We'll also see the color guard there, the honor guard, paying a lot of attention to how they're maneuvering with Sergeant Abbate's casket. At some point, when it's all said and done, they're going to fold up the flag, give it to the family. That's also very touching when you see that. And then once we get into the service, that's when we're going to start to hear a little bit about the sorrow that the people who are closest to Sergeant Abbate are feeling right now. And given his personality, I bet we're going to have a couple of laughs as well, because that's one thing that keeps coming up, is that he was so funny that he knew how to, you know, take a joke and make a joke. And so we'll probably see that, as well as we see his coffin there making its way on the 215. The other thing that is also chilling, it literally gives me chills every time, not only when we see the honor guard doing their due diligence around the casket and the family making their way into the church, but that last radio call. It's chilling, to say the least.
It is, and we see that with both police and firefighters, the end of watch call, and it really is chilling and kind of brings a solemn end to the service.
So once they finally get down to the church, which is probably now another 5 minutes away or so, they will park this truck here with the casket loaded on the back, and they'll wait for everybody to arrive. And the procession is some 3 miles long, so it'll take probably 15 to 20 minutes for everybody to arrive on scene. And then once everybody arrives, they will line the route, and you will see that casket being led down that route in between lines of law enforcement officers as they play the bagpipes. And we also see the riderless horse with the boots facing backwards in the stirrups. That's also part of tradition as well, and it's a very touching but somber moment as well. You'll be able to hear a pin drop when that happens. There won't be a sound made as that casket makes its way towards Central Christian Church.
And what we're seeing is, you know, it looks like the front of it is getting closer and closer to the church, but this shows you this vantage point from Sky 3 of just how long this procession is, and it still has a ways to go for that last car to make its way to Central Church. We've been talking about how many folks have gathered there. Some of them know Sergeant Abbate, some of them never knew him but wanted to pay their respects at Central Church. Let's go ahead and hear one person who our Kristen Drummond was able to talk to just moments ago.
It just shows other people and the community that we're strong. We'll be there for you no matter what. Doesn't matter where we're coming from. We will always show the support for you.
So you see that Kelly Curran is above it in Sky 3. Kelly, it looks like they're making the turn right now from 215 east to the northbound 95 lanes. Do I have that right?
Yes, they are making their way onto US 95 right now. At least the front end of this is. The back end, I can only see to about Eastern, and I still see the procession still going. So again, a very long one, very similar to what we saw out here yesterday. We will expect to see at least some of the overpasses lined here as well on the 95 as they make their way up to Russell Road, which is where they're going to get off. They'll take a right and then another right as they make their way toward that New Beginnings Church. But a very long funeral procession. Like I said, the car is still over at 215 in Eastern as the front is already entering 95 northbound, heading up toward Russell Road.
But Kelly, it does seem like they're moving faster than what we previously saw on Friday, right?
Yeah, they definitely move a little bit faster and a little bit packed closer together here as well. Last time we saw a few motorcycles look like they were breaking down or having problems, and then that created a longer procession because there were bigger gaps in between the cars. This time everything's packed in a little bit closer together.
So there it is. There's the front of the procession, and they're approaching Russell Road, and the church is not very far from US 95. So once they get off the freeway, they're literally just a few minutes away from the parking lot of Central Christian Church, and we see more people on the overpass paying their respects.
And also below, it looks like some of the officers there parked on the side of the freeway so that they could stop and be at attention. And we'll say that a lot. They'll be saluting. What's most proper for civilians like ourselves when we go to these type of things is for us to take a hat off if we have it, or to place our right hand over our heart. But you'll see a lot of the law enforcement officers and people who have had military experience, they'll do a salute.
So former Clark County DA David Roger here on set with us this morning, and you were talking about the training that these officers do, and I know that they were taken by a suspected drunk driver on the side of the road, but what we saw at UNLV take place last Wednesday was a different story where they have an active shooter, and you're saying in the past they would have taken a more cautious approach, but these days they don't. They go in and try to stop the threat immediately, and they train for that on a regular basis here in Southern Nevada.
Yes, they do. You know, October 1 was an eye-opener for us. I mean, we had trained for those types of situations, but the training has been even more extensive these days. And at UNLV, we had Metro officers across the street having lunch. They received the call. They immediately ran. UNLV police, I can't say enough about them. They really had no barrier between themselves and the building, but they were right there to confront the shooter when he came through the door.
It just goes to show you, too, a lot of them are there at Central Church, or likely in this procession as well, paying their respects, even though they're dealing with a lot with the mass shooting that we had at UNLV. So a lot happening at this community at the same time, but yet taking a pause, as they should, to make sure that Sergeant Abbate gets his due and that he is sent off in a proper way. As we see, they're really making their way down the 215, hopefully getting to the church in a matter of minutes there. And from there, we'll see another very touching ceremony as the family will get out of the car, the van that they've been traveling in, and they'll make their way behind the casket, file behind, and then folks who are closest to him will be the closest to the casket, and then friends and so forth and so on. And then we'll start to see the honor guard and the color guard come to attention and have a ceremony and the bagpipes before we actually enter the church. And then that's when the service will kick off shortly. It's supposed to start at 10:30. That's not likely to happen because, again, this procession is so long, which goes to just speak to the dedication that so many law enforcement officers have from all over the country. Again, 37 other states represented here in this procession that is miles long, some at least 3 miles long. And you see those firefighters standing at attention there on top of their fire truck there as they make their way down the 215.
So this trooper, Sergeant Michael Abbate, was true Southern Nevada. He was born in Las Vegas, current Henderson resident, but he was born and raised in our community. So we know how much this community meant to him and his family as well. It'll be interesting to see the actual services. On Friday for Alberto Felix, it was obviously a very solemn and sad affair as some of his fellow troopers got up there. We heard from his daughter as well in a tearful goodbye to her own father. We didn't hear many light stories. about the lighter side of Trooper Felix. We're wondering if we will see that today, because we hear time and time again about the sense of humor of Michael Abbate. We'll find out, shortly here during that service whether we'll hear any lighthearted stories about his life, and I'm hoping that we do, because that will inform us, give us a better idea of who this man was that gave his life for our community.
Yeah, I think the video tributes also help, as we saw on Friday. I mean, not a lot of lighthearted moments, but that video tribute, you could tell that he was definitely a family man. They traveled a lot. They loved the outdoors. And so it, again, just adds to his humanity. And that's so important in times like this, because as we mentioned, law enforcement have been the subject of a lot of ire, a lot of people upset with them or have some sort of ill feelings toward them. And so it just shows you that they're more than the people who are just that maybe stop you on the road or who are fighting crime, that these are people who are loved. These are people who did love, and sadly their lives were cut short. As we mentioned, as we see on the left side of the screen, that's the site of the church, as officers are standing at attention there. But a lot of other people have shown up. Many of them are in law enforcement as well, or perhaps they're just people in the community who wanted to come out and pay their respects. Our Kristen Drummond has been talking to folks all morning long. And Kristen, I'm sure all of them are saying much of the same, is that they just wanted to be there.
They want to be here. They want to say their final farewells to Sergeant Abbate, whether they knew him or not. They just want to pay their respects for his service to our community. And as we're standing outside the entrance to the parking lot of Central Church, we are starting to see the procession come down the road, just the start of it. We are noticing the procession getting off on Russell Road, so they'll turn and then start coming down. But you can see the beginning of the procession. You got some of the motorbikes over there, and then we're waiting for the rest of the procession to catch up. But yes, so many I've been talking to are telling me they are just so heartbroken by this loss. You can see there are two cars right here parked just off the side of the road to see this procession as it's now beginning to make its way down. And it is quite the sight to see, as we saw on Friday. And anytime we are out here to cover one of these services, which are always heartbreaking because that means we've lost someone in the law enforcement community, but it's also beautiful to see how the law enforcement community comes together. So you can see there are the motorbikes coming down, and there's the truck with Sergeant Abbate's casket on it, along with the van with the family following very closely behind as they make their way into Central Church at this moment.
Kristen, stay in place for us, but
we're
going to take, I want to take this in silence. I want to be able to watch this solemn moment as the casket arrives here at Central Church. We do have your camera shot up on TV right now, but we'll take this in together.
No. There's the casket right there on the back of the truck, turning in.
You're watching the procession for Sergeant Michael Abbate, killed in the line of duty on Thursday, November 30th. And you're looking at this miles-long procession, some 3 miles long, of officers representing jurisdictions from all across the country. Some 37 other states represented in this procession, which goes to just speak to the solidarity that law enforcement feel all across our country when they lose one of their own. Everyone feels it, not just the people here in Las Vegas, not just the people here in Southern Nevada or even Nevada. All across the country, law enforcement officers have descended here on Las Vegas. They wanted to be here whether they knew Sergeant Abbate or not, a man who was just 37 years old, who just recently actually celebrated a promotion to sergeant and was expecting to celebrate a birthday on December 22nd. We're just days away from that. And so as this plays out, we're going to see all of these officers file into the church parking lot here in Henderson. We've seen some classic cars. We've seen cars from all over, different jurisdictions as well. All of them have to make their way into that parking lot, and then they're going to begin the ceremony before the ceremony. Always pretty touching. Earlier we saw from Kelly's vantage point in Sky 3, the riderless horse. That's one of the tributes that they often give to officers who die in the line of duty. We're already seeing this lengthy procession. There's that riderless horse right there on the right of your screen. Then we're going to hear from the bagpipes. There's also going to be some drums that will be playing as the family marches in. We saw that long line on either side there of the parking lot of people standing at attention, the color guard standing there showing their deference. The casket there will file behind them. Then the family at some point will get out of the van and they will line up, and then all of them will take that solemn march inside the church.
So the casket arrived there some 12 minutes ago, and you can see that the end of the procession still has not arrived at Central Church. But I'd like to check in with Kelly Curran, and you can see why they choose this location for things like this, because number one, they have a number of parking areas there that they can accommodate the hundreds, literally hundreds of vehicles, and the sanctuary is very large as well. So there may be more than 1,000 people that file into the church, which is in the upper left-hand portion of your screen. But they're very orderly about this, Kelly. You can see that they've done this before, unfortunately, in our community. So as they get there, it's very, very well organized.
It certainly is very well organized, and you can see we already have people lining this corridor, and that's where the drums and the bagpipes are going to be going, and then followed by the casket, the riderless horse, and the family walking behind there. And you can see a lot of different types of uniforms as you kind of zoom in here and take a little bit closer look at this corridor. And as we saw the cars coming in, we saw Orem, Utah, we saw California Highway Patrol, we saw Utah's Highway Patrol, we saw the classic police cars that came through here as well. Of course, a lot of Metro and NHP officers, Henderson, Boulder City, North Las Vegas. Everybody is here, quite the turnout, and then you see everyone's kind of getting out of their cars, and then they go and they line up and stand and wait for the casket to come through. So it's still going to be, let's see, I think the last cars have now gotten off the 95, yeah, and they're starting to make that turn. So we've just got a couple more minutes for the rest of these cars to get in here and park, and everybody to get lined up and ready to go.
And I would imagine, as one who's lost a lot of family members, I mean, this does give you a sense of closure, but I think every step that they take getting closer into that church, and then once they're in their church, they know that this is the final moment. This is the final goodbyes for this family. And so as someone who is just watching this and feeling for them at this moment, I can only imagine what they're going through, and my heart breaks for them, because they know that, you know, they have to get through this moment. They're going to sit in the ceremony, and then after that they know, okay, this really will be the finality of it all. This really will be the last time that I get to be with my loved one. And so they're going through that, but they're not going through it alone. David, as you mentioned, they have so many people who are going to be pulling for them, not only today, but beyond.
Sure, the law enforcement community is a family, or it truly is, and you know the family members will have law enforcement in their lives for as long as they want. And there are times where you know it's too much for them, but for the most part, we will be there with them throughout the rest of their lives.
And you've devoted your life's work to working in law enforcement, first at the district attorney's office. I mean, you've been working within law enforcement for more than 30 years, 3 decades in our community, and then you were elected 3 times as Clark County District Attorney, and now you work with the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. I guess I would just like your thoughts when you see a solemn affair. What goes through your mind as someone who's devoted their life's work to something like this?
Very emotional, very, very emotional. You sit through these services, you think about the family and their loss and the loss to the community, and it's very emotional.
And I imagine it's emotional too. You see these grown men, these hardened men and women in our community who put their lives on the line to protect our community, and you'll see tears today for sure. We saw that at Alberto Felix's funeral on Friday when we went through the same ritual, and we saw his fellow troopers, and they were strong enough to get up there and talk about their fallen trooper and friend, but they also had the emotion of the day, and it was really touching for me to see these very strong men and women in our community get emotional when they are paying their final respects to their fallen friend and trooper.
Yeah, they know the dangers that lurk, but they all want to go home. And you know, we hear the old saying that people say, oh, they died doing what they love. Well, they also wanted to live. This is a man who had plans. This is a man who had a family. He's a husband. He's a father. He just got promoted to sergeant. He was probably looking forward to his 38th birthday, which is taking place December 22nd. And so a lot of times when we see these things, I think that's why you see so much emotion, because they all want to go home and they want all of their brothers and sisters to go home. And when they don't go home, it's their worst fear, it's their worst nightmare on display there. And I'm sure the family feeling the same thing. You know, they will never forget probably the last time they saw Michael, the last time they hugged him, the last time they kissed him. And those memories hopefully will be able to comfort them that he did live a life that he loved, that he was able to race cars, that he was able to teach other people how to become better at doing their profession. All those things I'm sure are great memories. But at the same time, there's such a huge loss, such a major part of their family gone forever, and really what was just a senseless act, a careless act from a suspected drunk driver. And so there's going to be a long road ahead. And as you mentioned, David, you know, the law enforcement community will be there with them. Obviously, right now, there's probably an outpouring of support, an outpouring of calls, flowers, you name it, probably coming their way. But if you know this family, think about them in moments when, you know, perhaps we get further away from this event, because this is when everyone's thinking about them. But think about them on those Christmases, which is coming up, which is going to probably be just so tragic for them. Think about them on those birthdays. Think about them even when there isn't a special holiday or something like that, because that's when they're going to need you the most. That's when that's when a lot of the people will maybe fade away. Obviously not the law enforcement community, but their neighbors, their friends. That's when it would be good to check up on them, because that's when those quiet moments, when they're by themselves and there's no more pomp and circumstance, when it's really going to hit them, just the finality of this. I mean, and we've all lost people. Grief, it ebbs and it flows. And so some tough days are ahead, some tough years are ahead. They will never be the same because of what happened on November 30th. And so really just calling on everyone who knows them, who cares, to let them know that you care.
And part of that too is when you were talking about remembering them all year round, which I think is important to do. When I see somebody in uniform, I try to engage them, because all too often I think their interactions with the public are negative, right? Because they're having to deal with criminals on a literally daily basis. I want them to know that there's people out there that support them. And I think it's important that we interact with them in positive ways too.
Sure, you know, I work with them at the Shriners Golf Tournament, and a lot of them work overtime, and you know, they are so pleased when people walk up to them and thank them for their service. And you know, there are times when, you know, people aren't thanking them for their service, and you know, they're not robots. They're human beings who have feelings. You know, we're seeing throughout the country now that we're paying more attention to police officer and law enforcement's mental health issues, and so it's important to, you know, acknowledge them in a positive way.
Yeah, because like you said, they are human. They have multiple layers to them. They are somebody, and unfortunately, those somebodies will never be the same because of what happened on November 30th. We just got word that the last car in the procession has made its way into the parking lot, and so they will start the next ceremony here at any moment. As you heard, the family will start to file out. In fact, I believe that may be the family making their way now behind the casket that has Sergeant Abbate's body in it. His family taking that somber walk. I can't even imagine what they're going through right now, but they'll make their way behind the honor guard. After that, we will have the riderless horse at some point, and then others will fall behind them. You're going to hear drums. They will march toward the ceremony, which is going to be taking place at Central Church. We will also hear bagpipes at one point, and this is the moment where you can really start to see the grief on people's faces as that starts, the solemn look on their face, and literally just extremely quiet, but for those drums and for the bagpipes that will ensue later.
So Kelly Kern is above it all right now up in Sky 3, and I was hoping you might be able to give us an idea of what's happened. The final car looks like it has been parked. People are making their way to the procession line as we speak, lining that. And we went through this on Friday with Trooper Alberto Felix, so we're going to get there's a little action here momentarily where that casket starts to make its way in between the people, right, Kelly?
Yeah, absolutely. So the front of that will actually be the bagpipes and the drums. You see them, they're ready to go right now. So we'll see them start moving first in their kilts and everything, all dressed up, and then the police. Oh, all right. So it looks like we're going to start moving here right now. So I'm going to be quiet so that we can tune in and listen to this.
step, center, pace. Ready, step, ready, step, ready, step, ready, step, release, casket, forward, march.
So the casket's now inside the sanctuary, and it's a matter of trying to get everybody who is standing outside inside that building. And our cameras will be in there during the services themselves. We'll bring that to you live, not only here on the CW, but on Channel 3 starting at noon today. But Kelly Curran, there are still a lot of people, hundreds of them, outside that need to get inside the sanctuary to pay their final respects.
Yeah, absolutely. We're continuing to watch those moving in right now. These are the ones that were lining the corridor. Then they'll be going in first. Then you're going to see all of these officers in uniform that are standing here. They'll follow in behind, and then we'll see members of the public, other friends and family members start to make their way in as well. Of course, we saw the flyover as they were taking the casket there off of the truck and making its way inside to 3 Metro helicopters, where the one peeling off there as well. It's going to be a few more minutes as we wait for everybody to move back in. We're going to have to get everybody off this corridor, and then the flag bearers, they usually go in toward the end there as well.
All right, so it'll take a while because obviously a lot of people have to file into the church, and once they do, we'll be able to bring that funeral service to you in its entirety here on the CW. So thank you for joining us. If you're just now joining us, this is for Sergeant Michael Abbate, a sergeant rather, with the Nevada Police, their state police, who lost his life tragically on November 30th. Due to the hands of a suspected drunk driver. He was also with Trooper Alberto Felix when that unfortunately happened. Felix was actually memorialized on Friday and buried on Saturday in a private ceremony. And right now you're seeing just the throngs of people who have shown up both in uniform and without uniform to pay their respects to this man that by all accounts was a great man, a man who loved what he did, a man who was a husband and also a father, a son, a friend, being memorialized here in just a matter of minutes as soon as I can get all of these folks who wanted to come and mourn his loss into the church here in Henderson.
Former Clark County District Attorney David Roger has been joining us this morning. We wanted to say thank you for helping with our coverage. We wanted to get that law enforcement perspective. I know that you work with the Las Vegas Police Protective Association these days. So I just wanted to thank you for coming in and giving us that perspective from law enforcement.
Thank you for inviting me to be here during this very important time.
Happy to have you, unfortunately, on these circumstances, but I think that you provided great insight into what many of our heroes are going through right now as this all plays out, sadly, before our eyes. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, and you can see the procession continues, this time on foot. It was about a 20-minute long procession that left from the mortuary, Palm Mortuary in downtown Las Vegas around 9:30 this morning, and we estimate that the procession was about 3 miles long, and it contained within it law enforcement vehicles from 37 different states here in Las Vegas and Henderson now, paying their final respects to this fallen trooper in our community. But it just gives you an idea of what something like this is and what it means to the law enforcement community, not just here in Southern Nevada, but around the United States of America. It's a solemn affair, but these people want to show and pay their respects to this fallen trooper, and they want to make sure that the family knows that they honor and respect their fallen loved one as well.
Yeah, and the community at large also grieving with them, as well as we saw on this procession that winded its way through the iconic Las Vegas Strip. We saw so many tourists and likely locals who stopped what they were doing on those bridges and wanted to watch and stop and pay their respects. We also saw some folks who gathered at the iconic Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign as well. In fact, we saw that one man decided to pay tribute by having those thin blue line flags there representing the amount of years that both Trooper Felix and Sergeant Abbate spent with the Nevada State Police. 14 years combined they did, and so he had 14 flags there lined up as well. And then we also saw even UNLV flags just commemorating and showing what a hard time this community is going through as we mourn the loss of those 3 faculty members who were killed during a mass shooting there on last Wednesday.
Yeah, and David, you grew up in this community. You moved here as a teenager in the 1970s, and you went to high school at Bishop Gorman. You went to college at UNLV. You went away for law school, came back to practice here in Southern Nevada. So you see days like today when we've lost 2 troopers a week ago Thursday, the mass shooting at UNLV, and you were certainly around for 1 October like all of us were. So you've seen the resilience of our community in times like this.
Absolutely. You know, throughout the years, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of officers. We've had a lot of tragedies, and you know, it is times like this, sadly, that brings the community together and shows the strength, the compassion, and empathy that people have for the community, the law enforcement community, and the fallen officer's family.
Yes, so true. I mean, when the worst happens, obviously the best among us rise up to the occasion to do what we can to try to power through. And we saw that during 1 October. We've been seeing it play out on the UNLV's campus and beyond, and now we're seeing it here once again at Central Church, a church that's seen so much grief, and in large part because they open their doors because they have a huge sanctuary there and a huge parking lot that can accommodate something that so many people want to be a part of. And I'm always just struck also by the family, their generosity to let all of us in. I mean, this is a very private, heartbreaking moment for them, and yet they're nice enough and kind enough to let all of us be a part of it. And you can see that so many people wanted to be a part of it, because we've heard from people that Kristen Drummond talked to who said that they didn't know Sergeant Abbate, but they just felt compelled to be here.
Sure, it's so difficult, I'm sure, for the family to mourn in front of thousands of people. When I say thousands, I really mean thousands. This church is huge, and to share this very difficult time with the community and the fellow law enforcement officers throughout the country is very special.
Yeah, and you can see them filing into the church. So this will take several more minutes, and then once they get in place, it'll be another several minutes before the services actually begin. We're expecting to have that happen within the half hour, I would imagine. We do have reporters that are out covering this story for us. I know Kristen Drummond is kind of across the street from the church, and she's been joining us live all morning long, talking about the view from her vantage point. And Kristen, are you able to speak with us now as you're watching these law enforcement officers file into the church?
Yes, Dana, I can hear you. We are, from our vantage point, we are unable to see the law enforcement community filing into the church. We are still by the entrance where you can see the American flag being held up by the Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, as well as Clark County Fire Department's apparatus. But you can just tell it's a very solemn moment. We still have a couple people who are coming out here, taking pictures of the American flag, just to see this moment. And I was able to approach one man. I asked if he knew Sergeant Abbate. He said no, but he knew Sergeant Abate's sister. Only met her about once or twice, but knows people who either know the family. And he says he just wanted to pay his respects and say goodbye to a man, even though he didn't know him, but know what he did for our community. And that, again, is the same theme we keep hearing along with Trooper Felix's funeral on Friday as well. So it's just a moment for so many in the law enforcement community to come together. And speaking of those classic cars, I was able to quickly speak with the driver of one of them. And on the classic car, it says actually Sheriff Mayberry. If you are familiar with one of those classic, I'm forgetting the name of the show right now. It's one of those classic shows. But anyway, I spoke with him and I asked if he has ever been a part of these types of processions. And he said, no, this was actually the first time being in Trooper Felix's procession as well as Sergeant Abate's procession and bringing his car to pay his respects. And I asked him why he decided to do it. And he said, well, he's been asked by several people over the years if he would bring his classic vehicle to one of these processions to pay to be part of it and pay his respects. And he said he didn't know if it would be appropriate or not, but this time he wanted to be a part of it. And he said he's very grateful that he was able to be a part of this moment to show the family how much Sergeant Abbate means to so many, even if they do not know him. Dana.
All right, Kristen Drummond for us there at Central Church. And if you're just tuning in, we're celebrating the life of Sergeant Michael Abbate, a sergeant with the Nevada State Police who lost his life on November 30th. And as we're doing this, just more than a week out from almost a week out from when we had that mass shooting at UNLV, we're now hearing of reports of another mass shooting that's happening right now in the northwest part of our valley at Osa Blanco and Durango. We're hearing that 5 were shot, and sadly, there are some fatalities involved. Dana?
Yeah, 4 dead, 1 at UMC Trauma, but this comes, 5 days after the mass shooting of the campus of UNLV, in which 3 people were killed there, another in critical condition and last check in the hospital, and now another mass shooting 5 days later on this Monday as we say goodbye to this heroic trooper from our community. Sky 3 is now headed toward that mass shooting up in the northwest. Kelly Curran and Sky 3 will arrive there momentarily, and once she does, we will be checking in with her. But again, this just happened, so we're just getting this news into our newsroom. But as we get it, of course, we'll deliver it to you right here live on the air.
I mean, just when you think it can't get worse, I mean, here we are. Our community was already reeling when this happened, when Sergeant Michael Abbate lost his life on November 30th. And now, just days after that, we were dealing with yet another horrific situation at UNLV, as you mentioned, last Wednesday, when a gunman opened fire there, killing 3 faculty members and injuring another one who remains in the hospital at last check. I mean, so much going on in this community. We're now in our 2nd law enforcement funeral in just a matter of days. And here, as we're trying to pay our respects to Sergeant Michael Abbate, who tragically lost his life, we're learning that 5 people have been shot. Again, this is in the northwest part of our valley, 4 dead. 1 person taken to UMC Trauma, the level 1 trauma center here, which speaks to that person's injuries. Must be grave.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And David Roger, former Clark County District Attorney from our community, now works with the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. I know you've been trying to gather information on this, and some of the stuff you may not even be able to tell our viewers. It's so early in the investigation, but I don't know if you've gotten anywhere yet on trying to find out anything about this mass shooting up in the northwest.
No, we respond to all officer-involved shootings. I don't know if we're involved yet. I just reached out to our team, but as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know.
Unfortunate, and this as so many mourners are filing into Central Church by the hundreds to pay their respects to Sergeant Michael Abbate. And I can't even imagine what some of those law enforcement officers are probably feeling as their phones are probably going off right now. They learn more about this. Of course, we're doing our due diligence to try to figure out exactly what are the circumstances surrounding this awful situation again. And I mean, this is a Monday morning.
Yeah.
that this is happening. Broad daylight, 5 people shot, 4 dead, 1 person at UMC Trauma, again at Oso Blanco and Durango. That is in the far northwest part of our valley. And so as we work to try to find out those details, we have Kelly Curran. She's now leaving this scene here that's tragic and playing out before our eyes, and headed that way to try to figure out the latest on what is going on here in our valley. A community that's already reeling from so much loss and so much tragedy and quite frankly, so much violence.
Well, think about it. I mean, we had 1 October, that was in 2017, but more recently we had these 2 troopers. And by the way, on the left side of your screen, that's inside the sanctuary. I just want to kind of orient everybody. And on the right side, you still see hundreds of people still trying to file into the church, and they will not begin the service until they get them inside the church. But a week ago Thursday, we had these 2 troopers killed in the line of duty. Wednesday, we just had 4 people shot on the campus of UNLV. And now on this Monday at Oso Blanco and Durango, this is past 215, this is past the Beltway. So this is as you would be heading out of town toward the Mount Charleston area, not far from Centennial Hills Hospital.
Right.
And we don't have any information about the occurrence here, why it happened. We just know where, and we know that 5 were hit by gunfire, 4 dead, 1 at UMC Trauma. And Sky 3 is headed that direction, but once Kelly Curran arrives on the scene, she'll be at least be able to give us a bird's eye view of what's happening at that location.
And I'm trying to just think about the stuff that's in that area. I mean, there is a shopping center in that area. There's also a number of homes and apartment complexes as well. And so if anyone who is familiar with this area, it's not one in which you would think you would be hearing something like this happening, but yet here we are again hearing of mass tragedy striking in our community with 5 people shot, 4 dead. Again, this is at Oso Blanco and Durango in the northwest part of our valley. We do know that there's at least 1 survivor right now, a person who's likely fighting for their lives at UMC Trauma. And we're working to get more and more information for you as soon as we possibly can. But this is all playing out with the backdrop of us also mourning the loss of one of our fallen heroes, Sergeant Michael Abbate, who was killed tragically on November 30th on a Thursday as he was just simply trying to do his job and stop and help a motorist that appeared to be sleeping on the side of the road there at I-15 and at D Street on an off-ramp. He lost his life along with Alberto Felix, a trooper he worked with. And so that's playing out there in Henderson, and here's a live look at that scene. Again, this is at Oso Blanco and Durango in the northwest part of our valley. I'm trying to get closer to try to see what type of building.
It looks like an
some type of
apartment complex, doesn't it?
Yeah, we see several officers there parked, Metro on the scene, the caution tape there showing that it's a crime scene, but this looks like an apartment complex there.
So we have a lot of questions, right? We want to know if there's an active shooter on the loose. We want to know if that person is been caught. So those are major questions for us right now because the public is obviously concerned about the safety of our community, especially up in the northwest section of the Las Vegas Valley, and a lot of other questions that will be answered down the road, maybe not even today, but we want to know about the victims, the motive in this case as well. But Sky 3 is getting closer and closer as we speak, and we'll have a reporter on the ground for us too. But it's obviously an uncomfortable situation right now because we're saying goodbye to the Sergeant Michael Abbate, who lost his life a week ago Thursday in the line of duty after getting hit by a suspected drunk driver on the D Street exit northbound at Interstate 15. Meanwhile, while we're remembering this hero from our community, we have this breaking news of another mass shooting 5 days after the mass shooting on the campus of UNLV. So it's uncomfortable trying to cover both of these, but we're trying to do the best we can.
And we know that we have more funerals coming as we start to say goodbye to these faculty members who lost their lives at UNLV. And this is something that is triggering, I'm sure, for the entire community because you have to wonder, when is enough going to be enough here? I mean, we already have students here who would never be the same, and so many other people who have lost their professors and people who just went to UNLV. I mean, when that happened at UNLV, that affected this entire community because so many of us have close ties to UNLV. And so now we're hearing about this happening at an apartment complex, it looks like, there in the northwest part of our valley. Oso Blanco and Durango, that is just off of 95 there as you're getting closer and closer to Mount Charleston area. And we're seeing it looks like as Kelly makes her way there in Sky 3, starting to see that area, again, close to the hospital there at Centennial Hills, close to a shopping center, but it looks like, again, this is happening at an apartment complex where we're hearing that 5 were shot, 4 of them dead now, and 1 person presumably fighting for their lives at UMC Trauma.
So we just had the one ground camera, and it was just shooting one angle, and we saw some police tape there. We saw a couple of police vehicles as well. It didn't look like there was any sort of a frantic search going on. When we were at UNLV on Wednesday, you could see that it was a frantic search. They wanted to make sure that it was a lone shooter, not multiple shooters. In this case, from just one vantage point, it did not look like a frantic search was going on for a gunman. We still do not know that.
Right.
Again, the information just coming into the newsroom, but Kelly is above the scene right now. So Kelly, I know you have just arrived there. We're all seeing this together as a Las Vegas community, but give us an idea of what you're seeing from Sky 3.
All right, so we just pulled up. This is an apartment complex here that's right at the intersection of Oso Blanco and Severance Lane, so just off of Durango here. This is in the back of the apartment complex. We are seeing some crime scene tape that is up here. I'm sorry, the camera's having a little bit of an issue here. We don't really know what we're, you know what, guys, I'm going to take a look around. I'm going to see what I can see, and then I'm going to check back in with you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I'm also struck by the fact that we don't see a lot of people being evacuated from this apartment complex, which also is...
seems calm, doesn't it?
It seems very calm, especially when you hear of the number of people who have lost their lives in this incident. Again, at last check, we have 4 dead and at least 1 person now that is at UMC Trauma. This is happening in the northwest part of our valley at Oso Blanco and Durango, and happening as we were paying tribute to fallen officer Sergeant Michael Abbate with Nevada State Police.
So just to let you know, once the services begin for Sergeant Abbate, we will take you back to Central Church down in Henderson in the southeastern portion of our Las Vegas Valley. That will be coming your way shortly here, but we have this breaking news coming into the newsroom. We do see a number of police officers on the ground. We do see them walking around in that parking lot of that apartment complex, but again, it seems very calm there. We're not sure why that is the exact case. We will be finding out a lot of information about this as the hours wear on today. I'm sure Metro Police will be holding a news conference here when they can. We get impatient here in the newsroom, but they have a lot of investigation to do, a lot of evidence to collect here. So we try to be as patient as we possibly can. But the number one concern right now is there an active shooter in our community? That's a question we can't answer.
Right, but a very different scene than what we saw last Wednesday at UNLV when the heavy police presence, SWAT team was on scene. I'm not seeing SWAT, at least from our vantage point. It looks like we just have, I'm counting about 3 or 4 Metro police cars at this time.
So David Roger, former Clark County DA, is on the set, and you were here just to provide some commentary about Sergeant Abbate's funeral, but I know you have many contacts within law enforcement, and you have been reaching out to them. Have you been able to find anything out about this?
Yeah, our officers have been in contact with me. The scene is what we refer to as being static, which means that the suspect is either in custody or has left the area, and that's why you're not seeing a lot of police activity now. And so it does not appear to be an active shooter situation right now. But I can't report on whether the suspect is in custody or has left.
Wow. All right, and then of course all of this playing out as we are saying our final goodbyes to Sergeant Michael Abbate. In fact, we want to go ahead and take you inside. We will cover this in its entirety, and we'll also keep you updated on what is happening in the northwest part of our valley. Again, before we leave you and take you to the funeral, 5 people have been shot in the northwest part of our valley at an apartment complex, it seems. 4 of them have passed away, 1 of them now at UMC Trauma. Let's go ahead and tune now into our final goodbyes for Sergeant Michael Abbate.
Uniform officers, take seats.
Good morning and welcome to Central Church. My name is Michael Kitchen, and it's my honor to be able to serve the family this morning and also as one of the pastors here. On behalf of the Abbate family, give thanks to everyone that made today's services possible. Special thank you to our community and the overwhelming support that you have shown everyone during these times. Thank you to the Nevada State Police Department and especially the entire Honor Guard. Today we celebrate the life of Nevada State Police Sergeant Michael Abbate. We have lost a husband, a father, a son, friend, mentor, race car enthusiast, and community hero. Michael was the best of the best, and he dedicated his life to serving and protecting this community for over the last 10 years. We are all here to honor a man who's left behind a great legacy. This service will be where we can reflect on the memories that we got to spend together and all the precious moments that we shared. This will be a time where we can honor, remember, and celebrate the life of Michael. I'd like to begin our service, if you could join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you right now with heavy hearts. Lord, we thank you that we don't have to experience these times alone. Not only have you promised to come along beside us to be our shepherd and to comfort us, but you have blessed us with friends and family and the benefits of drawing strength from one another. So God, we pray that you will hold us in your powerful, caring hands during this time and be glorified in our lives. Grant us the comfort so that we may comfort others who are also hurting. We thank you, God, for Michael. We thank you for the opportunity to have known him in this life. We thank you for the legacy and the life that he has left behind. I pray for everyone gathered here today with grieving hearts. Help them release tears if they need to as they say goodbyes for now. And remind them that you are the hope in the midst of this pain. We pray all these things in your Son's name. Amen. At this time, I'd like to invite our first speaker to the stage, Governor Joe Lombardo.
Thank you for joining me here today to honor and remember the life of Sergeant Michael Abbate of the Nevada State Police. As most of us slept safely at our homes, Sergeant Abbate was out protecting our community, bravely serving his fellow Nevadans when he made the ultimate sacrifice. As I said at the funeral of Trooper Felix, it's difficult to process and mourn these tragic losses. The outpouring of support from our community has been deeply moving, and it's deeply moving to see you here today. As just a small example of Sergeant Abbate's impact, I saw an interview he did this past February on Channel 3 here in Las Vegas. He was interviewed to talk about the importance of safe driving, and he spoke about how he taught a technical driving class for new Nevada State Police cadets. What stood out to me in this interview was Sergeant Abbate's passion for his job. his kindness towards others, and his natural confidence. Sergeant Abbate embodied the leading from the front looks like in law enforcement. He led with humility, courage, and confidence, and our state will forever be indebted to him for his leadership and service. When I was reflecting on Sergeant Abbate's life and leadership, I was reminded of Micah 6:8, which instructs us to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. As a father, as a husband, and as a law enforcement officer, Sergeant Abbate provided a clear example of what a life centered around justice, humility, faithfulness looks like. We will never forget him, nor will we ever forget the sacrifice of Sergeant Abbate's family, who lost a cherished son, husband, and father. As we mourn Sergeant Abbate's life, I pray that we continue to come together as a community to uplift the Abbate family and to support our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. And as we celebrate Sergeant Abbate's legacy of leadership, I pray that we honor his life with embodying the ideals he held close to his heart and service for others, faithfulness, and courage. As governor, I promise we will never forget Sergeant Abbate and that the state of Nevada will forever honor his memory. A promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Lombardo, for your amazing words of encouragement, your leadership, your love and dedication to the state of Nevada. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Nevada State Police Director George Tagliati.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here with us. On behalf of the Department of Public Safety, Nevada State Police, we offer our profound condolences to Sergeant Michael Abbate's family and friends. We gather today with Michael's family, as well as his first responder brothers and sisters who have traveled from across the nation to be here to grieve with us and to honor his life and service. Sergeant Abbate exemplified what it means to be a law enforcement officer. To begin his day in anticipation of engaging people at some of the most meaningful moments in their lives. To experience the rush and satisfaction of helping someone in need. The fulfillment in making a positive impact on our lives and on the community. Earning the respect from those who care about right and wrong. Enjoying the camaraderie with your partners, brothers and sisters in law enforcement. Developing a bond like no other. All the experiences and feelings of pride and satisfaction offered by no other profession. Sergeant Abbate was among our finest, a proud Nevada State trooper, and we're grateful to his family and friends for supporting him in his outstanding career and doing what he loved. His dedication to serving and protecting Nevada has made our community safer and will leave a legacy for generations to come. The response from our community has provided strength and comfort for us all. The candlelight vigil, the messages the flowers, the prayers, all the support at our Highway Patrol headquarters, the outpouring of respect for his service throughout our procession this morning. Our tragedy and the loss of Sergeant Abbate and Trooper Alberto Felix remind us how fragile life is. We stand together, united, and will honor the lives and the ultimate sacrifice of these heroes, and will hold close to our hearts the legacy and courage and love. Sergeant Abbate's act of bravery and courage will remain with us and continue to inspire us all. And now I would ask all first responders to please stand. Honor Guard Commander, please call the room to attention.
Honor Guard, uniformed officers, out and move.
Today we will award Sergeant Michael Abbate the Medal of Valor. The Medal of Valor certificate reads as follows. On November 30th, 2023, Sergeant Michael Abbate and Trooper Alberto Felix exemplified heroism and dedication while assisting a motorist on Interstate 15. In a tragic turn, they were struck by a passing motorist. Their selfless service to the great state of Nevada will be forever honored as they paid the ultimate sacrifice. Their legacy of unwavering bravery and dedication lives on in their memory and spirit, and they are all an inspiration to us. Lieutenant Colonel Martin Molesco will present the medal to Sergeant Abbate's wife, Vanessa. To the Abbate family, Michael's legacy and light will live on in each of you. The Nevada State Police family will forever stand with you. We will never forget the sacrifice of Michael Abbate in his service to the community that he loved. Thank you very much.
Honor Guard, uniformed officers, at ease. Take seats.
Thank you, Director Tagliati, for your leadership with the Nevada State Police and the way that you care and love each and every member. If I could please welcome to the stage Sergeant Jesse Winder.
I'm going to try to get through this. Good morning, and thank you to everyone in attendance here today to honor and remember our friend Michael Abbate. Michael and I first met on a Monday morning in January of 2014. My academy class had just graduated, and his was just beginning. So during those last few weeks that I was still in Carson City, we didn't speak much other than a simple, hey, how's it going, in passing between classes. A few months later, Mike had graduated the academy and was beginning his field training here in Las Vegas. His first FTO was Trooper Kelly Walkup, who was also on my squad. And for reasons that I can't explain, I recognized Mike immediately from the months prior up in Carson City. During his time in field training, we often worked calls together. And since I was a rookie myself and had just completed the FTO process, Mike would always ask me for advice on how to handle different situations. After Mike finished his field training, there were a couple years consecutively that we were on the same squad, working on the graveyard shift with all of the other rookies. It was during this time that Mike and I really started to become friends and not just co-workers. We were consistently lunch break buddies. If you work graveyard hours, you know that the food establishment options are extremely limited. And neither of us were fans of greasy bar food at 3 in the morning. But we quickly realized that the Wynn Hotel's EDR was the go-to place for breakfast. And we would go eat there together at least twice a week. When I think back, Mike and I ran a lot of hot calls together. But there were a couple of instances when I think of, I can't help but smile and laugh. And I'd like to share those stories with you instead. One time, Mike and I responded to a crash on the 15 near Sahara. When we arrived, we both noticed that one of the drivers involved had been drinking. Mike handled the crash report, and I investigated the possible DUI driver. For those in the audience that may not know, the second test administered during standard field sobriety tests is the walk and turn. So in short, you instruct your person to take 9 steps, touching heel to toe forward, down the line, turn around, take 9 steps back. After I finished explaining and demonstrating the test to this individual, the person took 9 steps forward down the line and then 9 steps backwards. And it was the best moonwalk I've ever seen since Michael Jackson. While I'm watching this and trying not to laugh, I look over at Mike and he's standing off to the side, smiling and giving a little golf clap like this. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw that, quickly followed by pretending to cough to cover it up. Mike was the best driver that I've ever known, and that made him the perfect fit to be our EVOC coordinator and lead instructor. A few years ago, I had to go through an EVOC recertification, and it was out at the Spring Mountain Racetrack in Pahrump. For some reason, Mike scheduled the training in the evening in December, and none of the track's lights were on that night. So trying to navigate a racetrack in the dark using only your patrol car's takedown lights was not easy. During one of my first laps, Mike jumped into my passenger seat as my instructor. And of course, that's when I made a complete fool of myself, completely missed a turn, driving over the gravel median. But Mike had a way of making you feel better, even when you're embarrassed. He laughed at me, of course, but then said, "It's okay, buddy. We'll get you all squared away on the next lap." Our friendship grew outside of work because we shared the love for boating. In fact, I'd credit Mike for the biggest reason that I bought a boat in the first place. When I was talking with him prior to buying and he's trying to convince me to do so, my concern was that the high price of ownership would truly be worth it. He told me, "You know that country song that says money can't buy happiness, but it can buy me a boat?" That's true. And if you knew Michael's taste in music, country was definitely not on any of his playlists. So I followed his advice and bought what we both considered to be my starter boat to see if I would use it enough. That was quickly traded in for a much nicer speedboat. But just like in a car on the racetrack, I couldn't keep up with Michael's Eliminator on the water. As we grew in our careers and started to go in separate directions, Michael joined Southern Command Technologies and started working in the office doing various tech jobs. And I started working up on Mount Charleston. So we rarely saw each other at work, but when our days off aligned, we would always meet up at a beach in Lake Mead. And those are my fondest memories with Mike. We would typically greet each other with a friendly jab. I'd say something like, "What's up, office cop?" And he'd reply with, "Well, you're one to talk. All you do is play in the snow all day now." But that was usually the extent of what we would discuss work-wise. At the lake is where I got to meet his wife, Vanessa, along with some of his other relatives and friends. Hanging out with them on the water was always the highlight of my week. As we got a little older, I saw Mike turn into a family man. When he and Vanessa told me that they were pregnant, it was at the lake. After all the hugs and congratulations, I told him, "I didn't know you guys were trying." And Mike replied in only a way that he could. He said, "Well, I wouldn't really consider us trying. It only took me one time." His sense of humor was my favorite characteristic. I could picture him in my head, the way that he laughed. He'd always kind of lean back. It was one of a kind. I'm thankful that he and Vanessa invited me to their baby shower, and I couldn't be any happier when their son Vince was born. It was amazing to see him grow into such a loving father. I'm sure that dressing up in full-blown Ghostbusters, Luigi, and Jurassic Park costumes was totally his idea. But he always did it with a smile. Recently, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant. When he told me that he had been selected, I couldn't have been any happier. And I asked him that if he were to be given the choice to please work on Graveyard so we could work together again. And he did just that. It felt just like the good old days. At the start of our last shift together, he and I were the on-duty sergeants, and we were holding a briefing with our troops at our station. While Mike was on his way, he stopped with an elderly woman in a disabled vehicle on the side of the 215 near Green Valley Parkway. And he sent me a text saying that he was going to help her change a flat tire, so we might be a little late. I think that epitomizes how much Mike cared for others. He was an incredible police officer and an even better person. In closing, I want Vanessa and the entire Abbate family to know that this is not a day or a week-long event, but a lifelong event. And you will always have an NHP family that cares for you and loves you. And to the police officers in the room, I know that we all have to maintain our rough and tumble exterior, right? But don't forget that it's okay to tell your brothers and sisters in blue that you love them. I'll go first. Mike, I love you, and I miss you, buddy.
Thank you, Sergeant Winder, for those memories, the stories, the laughter. You truly honored your friend well today. If I may welcome up to the podium Ross Jones.
So it's with heavy hearts that we say our goodbyes to a remarkable guy, our beloved friend, Mike Abbate. But let us also remember the joy, laughter, and love that Mike brought into our lives. I actually first crossed paths with Mike in the fall of 2004 at UNLV. He had just graduated from Bishop Gorman High School, and he knew some of my closest friends from their days in private school. One of our mutual friends, Mike Uriardi, had the great idea of rushing the fraternity Phi Delta Theta. And right from the beginning, Mike stood out not just for his infectious sense of humor, but for something deeper, his authenticity. His ability to speak right to your heart, raw, uncut, and without filter. Even during those initial fraternity meetings, Mike was never afraid to speak his mind, a trait that would define him throughout his life. Particularly, I remember the challenges he internalized during our first semester when he was hit with the daunting prospect of a $500 dues payment. I remember he would rationalize, why am I paying these dues? Where is the money going? What do I get exactly for $500? He never compromised on being true to himself. This authenticity became one of his greatest gifts and endeared him to many who appreciated Mike's straightforward nature. Mike sucked it up, paid the dues, and we rushed the fraternity that fall semester. In the spring of his freshman year, he would go on to meet Vanessa, and I remember him telling me all about it on campus and his excitement towards getting to know her. The following fall, those $500 dues popped up once again. But Mike made the bold, conscious decision not to pay, fully aware of embracing the consequences, which would bar him from being able to attend any meetings or events. In his words, and I quote, "I'm not cheap, I'm frugal, Ross." And if you knew Mike, his frugality always paid off for something bigger and better. It was a testament to his principles and his ability to stand for something even if he was alone. During an initial meeting our sophomore year, he let the fraternity know that he would not be paying or participating. However, in an unexpected twist, another older seasoned member of the chapter, James Maddie, stepped in and covered his dues. And the reason why is he told Mike that he loved that he would speak his mind regardless of what the topic was about. Mike was effortlessly authentic in every arena of life, stood for something, and we all know that he would never be taken advantage of. Over time, Mike transitioned from being my best friend to something much more profound, a brother in every sense of the word. In fact, when we would meet new people, we would tell people that we were brothers and they would buy it because we had similar physical characteristics and mannerisms. He was the kind of friend you could always depend on, the one who shared your joys and shouldered your burdens. Mike's ability to listen and provide thoughtful insights became a pillar of support for many, myself included. While many knew Mike for his larger-than-life sense of humor, those who were closer to him understood the depth of his love for life. Mike loved Vanessa, his wife, since he had known since he was 18 or 19, and their 3-year-old son, Vince. He was so proud of the boy he was becoming, and the last time I saw him in November at one of our friends, AJ's birthday, he spent a lot of time showing us videos of Vince. He loved his sister, Michelle, his parents, Judy and Mike Sr., his extended family, and he loved his friends. Mike found joy in the simple pleasures of life, working in the shop on his latest project, racing at the track, going to the lake, knocking out items from his never-ending honey-do list, and of course, when the mood struck, showcasing those unforgettable dance moves. So as we say our goodbyes, let us not dwell on the sadness of his departure, but instead celebrate the incredible person Mike was. Let us honor his memory by embracing life with the same authenticity, passion, and love that he did. Mike's legacy lives on in the hearts of all who knew him, and he'll be dearly missed. Rest in peace to my best friend and brother. May your spirit dance on forever in our memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross, for sharing those stories and giving us an intimate inside look at Michael outside of his first responder world. If I may welcome to the stage at this time, Dan Norwig.
Mike could be getting a kick out of this because he knows this is not my strong point here. My name is Dan Nordwig, a good friend of Michael's. I never imagined the outpouring of love and support one man could receive. Thank you all so much for being here to support Michael and Vanessa's family and friends. My relationship with Mike goes back to when we met at 17 years old. I met Mike through our crazy friend Brett, this crazy tattooed guy over here. The three of us spent countless hours together. Mike was not always a police officer, and many of those stories are not appropriate to share today. I do have one that comes to mind that I would like to share. Out off of Racetrack Road near Brett's house at the time, the three of us were in my 94 full-size Blazer, cruising around, not really sure what we were doing. Anyhow, we come up on this old rusty truck that looked like it was there for over 20 years. Full of car parts, axles, engine block, brake rotors, exhaust manifolds. So whatever reason I had a chain in the back, we hook up this truck and start dragging it through the desert. We're laughing our asses off watching this thing bounce all over the trail. So at one point we come to this turn, like every other turn, and my truck just stops. I mean stops. Threw us all to one side. It's almost dark at this point. We get out to see what had happened, and we see these car parts scattered everywhere. But the truck was gone. So we're looking around trying to figure out where the truck went and realized it had somehow caught this diagonal support cable for a telephone pole and rode this cable all the way to the top. So the truck's hanging from the top here. So being 16 and 17 years old, we didn't know what to do. So we got the hell out of there. The next morning we went back to see it and it was gone. Never knew how it got down. I can only assume Nevada Power.
We've been paying tribute to Sergeant Michael Abbate, the Nevada State Police Trooper who lost his life on Thursday, November the 30th. This is his funeral service. We are now joining in with our News 3 viewers as we simulcast this service. Let's go ahead and listen in.
If he was moving, had someone stopped, or if he was home on his off days, he would use my location to see if I was on my way home from work. On many occasions, not 5 minutes after pulling in the driveway, I could hear him ripping down the street in his go-kart, in flip-flops, basketball shorts, no shirt, with a cooler and a couple beers. I will forever miss the sound of that go-kart coming up the street. Mike wasn't afraid to take on any project. He could fabricate, weld, run the lathe and mill, and an impressive engine builder. He even built his own 30 by 50 shop. He was so excited to finally have a place to build some awesome projects. Mike was a gearhead through and through, anything with a motor, and you had his attention. Mike meant the world to my family. My daughters loved him like an uncle. Madison, Mackenzie, and Mike, they called themselves the trio. If the three of them were together, all we could hear was laughing. Sunny, my wife, and Mike's banter was never ending. Mike always seemed to get the short end of the stick because he knew he had to be nice. Mike and Vanessa's little guy Vince is only 3, and will never get to see how cool his dad really was. My heart breaks for him. A new kart track at Spring Mountain is supposed to be complete sometime next year, and Mike was really excited to get the boys into karts. Vanessa might be the only person on the planet to put up with all Mike's BS at times. He was definitely an ask for forgiveness rather than permission kind of guy. Vanessa could go on for days about Mike's antics over the years, but Vanessa was Mike's steady. And I can say with complete confidence, Michael loved you with every ounce of his being. Vanessa, you have always held a special place in my heart, and since Mike's passing, that phrase takes on a whole new meaning. We love you, and will always be here for you and Vince.
Thank you, Dan, for sharing those stories and sharing your friend with us. At this time, I'd like to welcome Michael's wife to the stage. Please help me welcome Vanessa.
eyes on me right now. I distinctively remember when Michael and I met in February 2006 at California Speedway. I was there not by choice, cheering on my brother while Michael was working as a mechanic for someone who happened to be on the same race team. By the end of the race weekend, Michael asked me for my number. I had just moved to Vegas from San Diego, and he was going to bring me out and introduce me to some friends. We had gone out a few different times, but there were never any friends. After confronting him with, "Do you even have any friends?" he admitted he was holding out to see what this was between us because he knew his friends and didn't want our opportunity to pass. Well, the rest is history. We had 18 years of the deepest love, happiest marriage, and truest partnership that I could ever imagine. To know a life without him is my worst nightmare. We truly saw one another for who we are and loved one another at our best and worst. With him, I felt safe, loved, accepted, and appreciated. Our love was always simple. I was proud of the man he was and the life that we had created together. We had a beautiful future ahead with so many plans, and in the blink of an eye, it was all taken away. He was the biggest goof with the absolute worst and most comedic dance moves, frailing about his long, skinny chicken legs. Always had the best timing with his little cracks that literally made everyone around him laugh out loud. I know we're all going to miss seeing him sitting there, Indian style, and hearing his favorite phrase, "Spare me." Michael was the biggest gearhead, always looking for a new project, constantly in his shop at home, whether it was building a motor, changing my oil, or welding something up for a buddy. His shop was his man cave, and I would have to drag him out by threatening that I was going to burn the dang thing down if he wasn't inside for dinner within the next 10 minutes. Soon we will be getting into the slideshow, and I really did try to incorporate some of his favorite music, but his music he had a love for was beyond explicit, to where they didn't even make a clean version. I would always have to get after him to skip and go to the next song, as majority of what he was listening to was way too inappropriate for Vince. We even had a phase of Vince constantly singing "Pushing P." Michael and our son Vince had a powerful bond. He wanted to teach him so much and already did in the short time he had with him. It was really brought to light for me just recently seeing Vince at a birthday party where on his own he grabbed a toy gas can and went to fill up the toy truck, followed by setting it down, then grabbing the toy oil and opening the hood of the truck to top it off. They loved working in the shop together and building a car that Vince said was his. We planned to finish this project for Michael and pass it down to Vince. They loved dressing up in Marvel costumes, being Iron Man and Spider-Man. Rocket launching Vince onto the bed that would make my heart skip a beat. He was so playful with him, but great about setting boundaries. Through our devastation, my biggest sadness is that Michael will never, sorry, I lost my spot. Michael will never get to truly be a part and see his son grow up. To teach him his passion for racing, as our plan was to get Vince into karting next fall. And even if we still do it, I know it would just never be the same and what it was meant to be with his dad. Michael was a badass behind the wheel. Did I love being in the car with him, racing around? Not so much, but that didn't stop him. He would always ask me, "What, you don't trust my driving?" Which I would respond, "Yes, I do, just not so much the obstacles around us. You're freaking me out." Our son, just as his dad, is 100% speed driven. He loves zipping around with him, whether in the boat, go-kart, razor, or car. He constantly would tell his dada with a thumbs up, "You're a good driver, dada." As he graduated high school, he realized it was time to put the helmet up. Sorry, I keep losing my spot. For a bit and look at life without racing. In his early 20s, he decided to get back in the seat and began racing legend cars locally at LVMS. Racing was his absolute passion, and he was so proud of the EVOC program he created for NHP once it was handed over to him. He loved getting to share his knowledge and wisdom with his fellow troopers. At your next EVOC training, which I believe is in March because it's on my calendar, take a lap for him, as I know he will be with you guys. Words cannot express how grateful and thankful we are for the love and support that has been given to us. The kindness that our families have been shown in this incredible, unfathomable, and life-changing time is humbling and appreciated. Our hope as a family is to have his memory live forever in our hearts and home, and for Vince to never lose sight of the amazing dad that he had. Our love for him will never fade, and we will always find strength knowing he's always with us. Michael, my Sal, I love you forever and always.
Please be seated. At this time, the family has prepared a video for everyone to watch and enjoy. And then at the conclusion, the Honor Guard will begin their ceremonies. I know there's quite a few little ones in the audience today, so I just want to prepare you that during that ceremony, there will be a 21-gun salute, so just prepare their ears, please. Enjoy.
I think of you when I think about forever. I hear a joke and I know you would have told it better. I think of you out of the blue when I'm watching a movie that you'd hate. You'd say it, you were never one to hesitate. You were always first in line, so why would it be different for heaven? But I got a couple questions. Is there a bar up there where you've got a favorite chair, where you sit with friends and talk about the weather? Is there a place you go to watch the sunset? And oh, is there a song you just can't wait to share? Yeah, I know you'll tell me when I get there. Do you think of me? Do you wish that I would slow down? Are there some things that you've seen that feel like home now? Are you up there climbing trees, singing brand new melodies? I hope you are. I know you are. Is there a bar up there where you've got a favorite chair, where you sit with friends and talk about the weather? Is there a place you go to watch the sunset? And oh, is there a song you just can't wait to share? Yeah, I know you'll tell me when I get there. Yeah, yeah, you'll tell me when I get there. Will you save me a place with all those pearls of wisdom? Yeah, I'll make some mistakes, and you watch me as I live them till I'm through, till I'm with you. Is there a bar up there where you've got a favorite chair, where you sit with friends and talk about the weather? Is there a place you go to watch the sunset? And oh, is there a song you just can't wait to share? Yeah, I know you'll tell me when I get there. Yeah. I think of you when I think about forever. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. There's a time that I remember when I did not know no pain. When I believed in forever and everything would stay the same. Now my heart feel like December when somebody say your name. Cause I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day. Hey. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Hey, hey. But everything gon' be alright. Gonna raise a glass and say, hey. Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. There's a time that I remember when I never felt so lost. And I felt all of the hatred was too powerful to stop. Now my heart feel like an ember and it's lighting up the dark. I'll carry these torches for you that you know I'll never drop. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Yeah, yeah. But everything gon' be alright. Gonna raise a glass and say, hey. Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. Memories bring back your.
Can't believe that you got me in a suit and tie. I had to take a pull so I wouldn't cry. You got a line out the church door saying goodbye. Yeah, I believe them when they say you're in a better place. You had a wild side, but you had amazing grace. I know you're way off up in them clouds, but if you could still hear me right now, I hope you hit those ghost streets on 2 wheels. I hope your mansion in the sky's got a 10-acre field with some mud and some hubs you can lock in. Make some thunder, make them wonder how you got in. Hide your beer, hide your clear from the man upstairs. Crank it loud, hold it down till I get there. And when I do, I hope you got some new stories to tell. Till then, give heaven some hell. I bet you're looking for a crew like we had. Bunch of noise making boys that like to live fast. Burning rubber in a parking lot. Man, I don't know if the other side's ready or not, but I hope you hit those ghost streets on 2 wheels. I hope your mansion in the sky's got a 10-acre field with some mud and some hubs you can lock in. Make some thunder, make them wonder how you got in. Hide your beer, hide your clear from the man upstairs. Crank it loud, hold it down till I get there. And when I do, I hope you got some new stories to tell.
Henry 4304. Status. Henry 4304. Status. Henry 4304. Status. This channel is code red for Henry 4304. No response to status check. This is a final call for Sergeant Michael Abbate. Henry 4304, do you copy? Attention citizens, friends, and family. Sergeant Michael Abbate, Nevada High Patrol call sign Henry 4304, lost his life while serving his community with dignity, courage, and valor. We thank him for his dedication, loyalty, and service to the citizens of the state of Nevada. Sergeant Abbate influenced many for his unending compassion, respect for all people, and service in many facets of law enforcement. All those he served will remember him. Sergeant Abbate, please rest in peace. Know that your legacy will live on through your blood family, as well as your brothers and sisters in blue. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten. Sergeant Michael Abbate, Henry 4304, your end of watch 1042 time is November 30th, 2023 at 03:57 hours. Godspeed, sir. Rest in peace. We have it from here.
Please be seated. Years ago, someone handed me a poem that I would like to read for Vincent today. And I also know that Trooper Felix's children are also in the room, so I'd like to honor this with them as well. And it reads, "In the beginning, when earth was first made, light was created to show us the way. But with each new day came struggles and fear. Someone was needed to protect us all here. They would serve and save, whether night or day, and be strong and brave, never once to sway. They'd fight off darkness, to save us from woe. So on the 8th day, God made a hero. The Bible refers to God in many ways, particularly calling him the Good Shepherd, and promises to comfort all of those who mourn. Wherever there are two or more gathered in his name, he is here. And Proverbs 3:5 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not depend on your own understanding. Listen to what God is saying to us as we read his word and reflect on what is his promise for our hope today. 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. All of our hearts are tremendously heavy right now. It's easy to become disconnected, confused, scared, and angry about a lot of things. Romans 12:1 says to us, do not let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Continue to stand the line. Continue to stand in the gap between good and evil. Continue to fight for what's right. This community needs all of you. It's extremely important that we stay unified as a community and pulled together in times like this. We must not allow the evil of the world to grab a hold of our hearts. You must remember that you are loved. At this time, I would like to ask if anyone called Michael family, friend, or a brother in arms, please stand with me in showing his family your continued support. Vanessa, Vincent, the Abbate family, please take a moment to look around and remember from the days, the weeks, the months, and the years to come that this community stands with you, and we will continue to be your light. I would like to ask everyone to please remain standing as we close our time in prayer. Please bow your heads and repeat softly in the privacy of your own heart. Lord, thank you for loving me. Lord, I believe in you, I love you, and I trust you. Thank you for protecting me every day that I wear this uniform. Lord, protect my heart and place a hedge of protection around me, my partners, and all of my loved ones. Give me the strength and wisdom needed each day to serve and protect the community you have entrusted me with. When duty calls me to danger, be with me and give me the courage to overcome. Lord, I give my life to you. Thank you for giving me this day and all the days to come. May everything that I do bring honor and glory to your name. Lord, thank you for Michael's life and all the years we shared with him. We lift him up to you today in honor of the good we saw in him and the love that we all felt from him. Please give us the strength to leave him in your care. We ask for your comfort today. Amen. At this time, we ask for everyone to remain standing and at their seats while the Abbate family that was a part of the original procession is escorted out by the honor guard. This is the conclusion of the services today. There will be no gravesite. There will be no procession out. On request of the command staff, please wait 10 minutes before exiting the property. And on behalf of Central Church, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to serve you in this community today. If there's anyone that needs additional prayer or just someone to talk to, we'll be available out in the lobby this afternoon. And once again, thank you for joining us and celebrating the life of Michael Abbate. God bless you.
We've been watching the funeral service for Sergeant Michael Abbate, and we will have more coverage in just a moment on everything that took place from the procession on, since it started at 9:30 in the morning. In the meantime, we do have some breaking news to bring to you at this hour. Police are now investigating a shooting in the northwest part of our valley. 5 people shot, 4 of them dead.
This coming 5 days after the mass shooting on the campus of UNLV, and we have another one today. There you see our Brett Forrest live from the scene, joining us near Durango and the 95 at that apartment complex with what you know today.
Yeah, it's called the Laredo Apartments, and it appears to be an isolated incident. The scene seems to be safe and secured. But I'll step out of the way. You can see it's just a large presence of police here. We counted about 20 or more officers. They now have both crime scene investigation, CSI, and the police mobile command. You can see right in front of us, and behind that giant truck is where all the officers are. But details still remain limited. We are expecting a press update from Metro Homicide in about 1 hour from right now, where we hope to get additional information. We don't have the identities or the ages of anyone involved. It maybe was confined to one apartment, maybe not, but again, just such limited details at this time. But as you said, there are 5 people shot. 4 of them sadly are dead, and 1 was transported to UMC trauma, and that is about the extent of what we know at this time. I did speak to a man who was checking on his 87-year-old mother who lives in the apartments where it happened. He said she heard some yelling this morning. The shooting, the call came in just after 10 a.m. and then someone pounded on her door. She was frightened. She called him to come over. He assumes it was police, but again, we're just waiting for that update in about an hour. So, of course, if you stick with us here on News 3, we'll provide you that information as we get it. For now, I'll send it back to you guys. I'm Brett Forrest, reporting live, News 3.
All right, our Brett Forrest there. Thank you so much for that report. And again, this was happening as we were paying our respects to the fallen trooper, the last one funeralized today. This is Sergeant Abbate there on your left, and then you saw Trooper Felix, Alberto Felix, right on the other side of him. And so a tough, trying day. Also, we're dealing with what now is our 3rd mass shooting in just 3 weeks. And so a lot to take in for this community, but of course, we still want to pay our tributes to these fallen officers who deserve it.
Yeah, and we have reporters all over the Las Vegas Valley covering this, including our Denise Raj, who was live outside the sanctuary on Friday morning when we were saying goodbye to Trooper Alberto Felix. And this morning, we said goodbye to Sergeant Michael Abbate. And oddly enough, you had a chance to meet this trooper in February for a different story.
For a story where he was teaching me how to become a better race car driver, if you can believe that, how to be a good driver out on the road. I wasn't the best student, but he was an excellent teacher. And I can tell you right now that Sergeant Michael Abbate is being remembered not only as an outstanding trooper, but as an even better person. And right now people are just beginning to file out of services. We're told he was a gearhead through and through who loved anything with an engine. Inside, his wife Vanessa also calling him a lovable goofball who will be remembered for his silly dance moves and the absolute love he had for his family, including his 3-year-old son Vince. We also heard today from friends who have known him since they were all teenagers, how he loved boating and racing go-karts. Sergeant Abbate was killed November 30th by a suspected drunk driver. He was just 37 years old. Reporting live from Central Church, I'm Denise Roche for News 3. Let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, our Denise Roche, thank you so much for that. Just heartbreaking that he leaves behind a wife and a 3-year-old child. Again, as we told you earlier, this procession, it started at 9:30. That was from Las Vegas, went all the way through the Las Vegas Strip at one point. And for more on that part of the tribute, let's go ahead and turn to our Andrew Nomura.
Hey guys, yeah, it definitely was a sight to see this morning as so many people stopped what they were doing here along the Las Vegas sign and watch this procession roll through and pay respects to Sergeant Michael Abbate. It lasted for about 10 to 15 minutes from our standpoint, but definitely a sight to see. Not only that, we saw people out here come out here and place 14 blue thin line signs. One in particular was John Wadby. He started this around 5:30 this morning. We asked the reason why he was doing this because he's just a community member. Here's his answer.
And it's a small gesture, but hopefully everyone that drives by this during that procession knows that the community loves them.
A small gesture, and just a small gesture of bringing and spreading love. It was definitely a sight to remember, Latoya, and it will send it back to you.
Yeah, and he had 14 of those flags to represent the many years, combined years for both of those fallen officers. One had been with the department for 4 years, the other for 11, and so that's why he wanted to have that many out there.
Yeah, and we also know that there was another presence outside of the church today. That procession taking anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. That's how long it took for all of the cars to arrive at the church, and that's where we find our Kristen Drummond. She joins us live from across the street. It was an impressive sight. Unfortunately, we've had to go through this twice now in the matter of just a few days as we said goodbye to Trooper Felix on Friday.
And because we had to say goodbye to Trooper Felix on Friday and now Sergeant Michael Abbate, there are just so many heavy hearts, not only from those who knew both troopers, but also those who didn't know them. But those who came out today tell me that they wanted to be here to pay their respects to the sergeant for everything and all of his service here in the Las Vegas Valley. That procession coming down New Beginnings Drive and turning into the church. It was the procession followed the casket of Sergeant Abbate, and then students from a nearby charter school greeted the procession, holding signs to show their support, while some in the community stood by with flags. Others deciding to park just across the street from the church and watch the cars file in. And I had a chance to speak with a friend of Sergeant Abbate who drove in from California this morning, leaving his house at 5 in the morning. He says the duo became friends around 2005 while attending UNLV and while they were in the Phi Delta Theta fraternity.
He was the guy who always make you laugh. Like that's why I can't picture him in such a a profession where he has to be serious and take care of things. So he was always so funny, and he always made everybody happy, and it was just a great guy to be around.
I was also able to speak with a man who did not know Sergeant Abbate, but says Sergeant Abbate oversaw his son, who is a Nevada State Police trooper. He was also here on Friday for Trooper Felix's funeral, and he says it's important for him to be here to show the family that they respect what he did, putting his life on the line and then dying in the line of duty to protect our community. Reporting live outside of Central Church, I'm Kristen Drummond, News 3.
Kristen, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And like we said, we had to do this on Friday and again here on Monday. And it was our honor to be able to remember these fallen troopers in our community, the 11th and 12th that have died in the line of duty serving our state and our community going back to 1911, and we lost 2 in the same day a week ago Thursday.
Wow. May they rest in
Yes.
peace. Well, that will end our coverage here on the CW. If you're watching us on Channel 3, please stay with us. We'll be right back.